What up, guys? We are live. So Kyle is oh, there she is. Perfect timing. Hello.
Hello.
She's doing the librarian look today.
Yep.
Every time you look.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Kevin, you missed a pretty lively debate last Monday.
Yeah, I heard. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it, but the comment section is always hilarious to look at.
It was pretty intense. We saw Kyla get riled up. We saw Allende get riled up. It was what
It
some
was
might call
so funny.
what some might call a shit show.
Yeah,
Kyla
that
and
is
her
true.
apparent blue pill rage, right? I guess that's what people have been saying.
It was interesting. Yeah. But okay, let's you know what I want to start with. So in the stream we're gonna talk about incels. We're gonna be reacting to a really cringe video where this like stalker guy basically called the police because a girl didn't want to give him his number. I shit you guys not. So we're gonna react to that. We're gonna talk about the incel epidemic, and then also we're gonna do open up the panel. We're gonna get you guys on. This one's gonna be we don't expect any heated debates, but you never know what happens for the Monday stream.
Big man, that's what
Uh,
you say every single time, bro. And there's always heated debates
I
when you say
know,
that.
I
It's
know.
like by saying that there's not going to be a heated debate, that's when they happen.
Yeah, I
I
know.
welcome it,
I
though. That's
know.
fun.
But yeah, so we'll probably go until like 11. So don't dilly dally if you want to jump on the panel. Don't wait too long. We're going to try to keep the stream short and sweet. But okay, let's pull up. But before we get into all of that, there's one video I have to play. This was emailed to me today, and this is just too good for me not to play. You guys will understand why. It's going to take about 30 seconds. All right, so let's listen to this. Let's listen to a word from our sponsor.
Basically, what we found is there's like too many leads to handle too. By the way, this is if you're I don't know if it's because we're white or whatever. But we have really good pictures as well on Tinder. But since I've been here, I've had like 150 matches. Tinder is way better here than in the States. Today I have 3 new chicks set up, so there might be Tinder is way better here than in the States. Matches. Tinder is way better here than in the States.
John cannot stop getting caught in lies. Kyle is looking like what the fuck. So the context is this is guy John Anthony who I've been having a little bit of an internet feud with, and he lies a lot. He tells a lot of lies, and one of the lies that he's been saying is that Brazil is very difficult. It's not easy to meet girls there. So someone emailed me a video of him saying that Brazil is really easy.
I'm not gonna lie. Red pill drama probably is as petty to me as my orbits drama is to you. I would guess.
Well, I guess like your orbiter drama doesn't really make much sense to me because I've been trying to follow it, and maybe you could give me insight. But there seems to be this really weird guy named Max, i.e., whatever, Mr. Girl, who I've personally debated. I can vouch for the fact that he's weird as fuck, and he seems to be like the biggest dipshit ever. And Destiny seems to be ultra nice to him, and this guy just seems to like keep going and going after Destiny. And so my biggest confusion is why the fuck hasn't Destiny cut this guy off years ago?
You know, that's the question. That's the question of the day. You know, no one knows. Forethought, any thoughts? Any thoughts on why Destiny hasn't cut off Max previously and sooner?
To me, all it took is one debate with this guy to be like, yeah, not someone I would want to be friends with. Uh, yeah, so it blows my mind. But this guy, but also the other thing that blows my mind seems like from what I've seen, Max owes his whole career to Destiny. Like as far as I understand, he started with Destiny, and like now that he's banned off YouTube, like the only place he has to go is Destiny's channel, and he is basically trying to throw shade at the one guy who's giving him a career. So it's like basically talking shit about your boss. It just makes no sense. Like why would you do
Don't
it?
use the boss word. That's all
Or
part of the whole dynamic.
or whatever. Like the guy
Yeah.
that's giving you, I don't know, man. It makes no sense to me. It's like why would you like fucking yeah, like why would you why would you do that? It's so dumb, so dumb. Like you're banned off YouTube. He's your only chance right now. Like you might as well stay on his good graces, even if you dislike the guy. I
Yeah.
don't know. Do you have any insight on it, on my thoughts?
No, I think everything you're saying is pretty accurate for the most part. It seems like you're following the Orbiter Wars quite well. I don't know. I think we should I'm trying to give it like 2 to 3 days to cool down a little bit before commenting much more on it. Just because everyone's feeling very heated There's a lot of hurt feelings on every side, which is fair, by the way. But I don't want to say anything that will stoke the flame too much. So,
Well, I saw a clip of you debating Lav.
yep.
Yeah, did you see my debate with Lav?
No, how'd it go?
Surprisingly well. We actually agreed way more than I and most people thought we would. I made an observation about her, which she disagreed with, but I will stand by. To me, she's like 99% a trad con girl. Like all the things she believes are actually like traditional conservative values, pretty much.
Yeah, a lot of them. She's definitely like complex. She doesn't fall perfectly on any side because she's got kind of some of the leftist stuff with like the patriarchy kind of critiques of sex work and stuff like that. But then yeah, has a bunch of more traditional values as well.
Like her, literally, what she said is like, yeah, I think every girl would just like not want to work if they have a guy that can take care of them. I think like it's a woman's job to just stay home and like do housework shit. I was like, okay, well, that's fair, but that's definitely not a feminist position. She was trying to explain to me how that was a feminist position, which kind of
It
blew my mind.
is. Yeah, it is in culture, in like cultural feminism, which is like the fourth wave of feminism. There's a whole kind of field within it that kind of talks about how like women should be encouraged to be women. Like we shouldn't, like feminism doesn't need to encourage women to be men, which is what the fourth wave would criticize the third wave of doing. Is like basically trying to teach women to be men. And so the fourth wave is trying to be like, women can just be women. The key is women should be choosing it. So if they're at home barefoot and pregnant, it's their choice. They're not being like forced because there's no other option in life for them, right? These are the differences, which I'm for. If you want to be barefoot and pregnant and you've chosen it, I don't know, it's fine with me.
Yeah, it was an interesting debate. Definitely wasn't like as heated as I thought it was going to be because we just agreed on like 85 to 90% of shit. The biggest thing we disagreed on was my relationship. She had a few choice words about that. She was like, okay, I mean, I guess like, if your girlfriend's okay with it, I guess it's okay. But like, I'm like, yeah, seems like you're not fond of it. What's on your mind? So that's kind of where we're at. But yeah, cool. Kevin seems to be having tech issues. I don't know what the fuck's happening. We can jump into the video. So you've already seen this video, Kyla?
Yep.
When did you see it?
Last week.
Oh, it came out that long ago? I just got this yesterday, actually.
Yeah, it was hot off the. I don't know if I was getting it hot off the press, but
this is probably the cringiest video ever. But I think it's a really good way to kick off our discussion about incels. Actually, I think there's like no better way. All right, so let's jump into this. So the backstory here is exactly what the title says. Stalker goes to cops to complain about being threatened for stalking. And you might think that this is like a troll video. It's not. This is dead serious. But this is so crazy that it would look like a troll video. Like you would think this is a parody, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. All right, let's just kind of play it.
To play a song for a woman that I kind of like. And I got there, and she saw me, and she immediately pulled away. And I wasn't forcing her to listen or anything, I just wanted to play the song for her, give her her own choice if she wanted to be with me,
Does she know you?
Yeah, I worked with her there for like 5-6 months.
Did y'all have a relationship?
No, we were talking a little bit, but it never really got serious.
Okay.
But anyways, I pulled up there, and I was in the other parking lot, and I saw her get in her car. And I was like, oh, shoot, it's my moment. So I pulled up there next to her, and she pulled away from me. And so I chased her a little bit just because, I don't know, women are crazy. Like, I felt like she wanted me to chase her.
Do you not think chasing somebody?
She wanted me to chase her. Kyla, have you ever wanted a man to chase you?
I have not personally. Well, that's not true. Sometimes, when I like go and I kick Nick in the butt and then I run upstairs, I kind of want to be chased. But usually if I'm like running to my vehicle and trying to hide my face and drive away as quickly as possible, that's not usually the moments when I want to be chased.
The highlight of this video is the confused look on the cop's face who are like, this can't be real. This can't be real. This can't be real. Oh shit, it is real.
That's crazy.
Well, it's just like I only went like a couple blocks down the street.
I'm just saying, don't you think chasing somebody's crazy when they obviously don't want to?
Well, I had my song playing, and I wanted to like her to hear it maybe.
Apparently she didn't want to hear it, right? So what else happened? Let's get on with the story.
Well, anyways, her father called me up, and he made some threats to me and to my life.
Okay.
And so I just want to have his name on file.
What did he say to you?
I think he said he's gonna stab me, like, but he's like cussing at me.
He said that, or did say that?
He says I'm gonna do something to you. I swear I do something to you.
For chasing his daughter?
Yeah, but it wasn't chasing. It was like going down a couple streets. Like that's like fun to women. Like women like that. A little bit of excitement.
No, they don't.
There's nothing better than a police officer explaining to you female psychology. This is
It's
what
just a couple of blocks. Like once you get into like blocks of like, yeah, yikes.
this is what happens when there's a lack of good information on the internet for men. They have to learn game from police officers.
Women don't like to be chased.
What about like
If I was a
Porn.
father, I'd probably tell you the same thing.
what about like BDSM porn where women like to have rape fantasies?
Well, apparently this girl
He's talking about rape fantasies to the cop. This is clearly a guy who just watches way too much porn, right? And he like thinks that the stuff in porn is like real life. You know, when like the fucking, I don't know, the plumber comes over and he like starts fucking like the hot housewife in 30 seconds. He's like, oh, this seems like a good idea. I just got to become a plumber. He fucking shows up in like a toolkit, knocks on some door, and some lady's like, get the fuck away from me. He's like, oh, don't you want me to come in and fix your sink? Get the fuck away, you creep. Oh, damn, that didn't go according to plan. Like, I mean, I thought like pretty much it was like kind of an unspoken understanding amongst men that the stuff that happens in porn isn't like reflective of real life scenarios. But I guess this guy didn't get the memo.
doesn't.
Well, who knows? Most women do like having rape fantasies.
Okay. Do you think she does?
There's an element of truth to that. A lot of women do have rape fantasies, but it's not with a random guy that they don't know about. It's usually with a guy that they're seeing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Apparently she don't.
well,
So what do you want us to do?
well, I just want you to get his name on file just in case he does do anything
Do
to
you
me.
know his name?
I know his daughter's name.
What do you know his name?
I know her name. I don't know his name. He called me from a restricted phone number.
Okay. Here's my suggestion. Leave her alone.
Well, this is one song I made, and this was the final chance I was going to have.
Here's my chance. Here's my advice. It's over. Leave her alone.
Okay.
Fathers will hurt you over their daughters.
Yeah,
This is actually some pretty base advice coming from this overweight police officer.
but
It's probably a dad.
that's the thing.
Yeah, I think he later on says that he is a dad. He's like, if someone did that to my daughter, I would do the same thing or something like that.
Is she needs to have her own free will, man. You gotta understand. I'm a man myself, bro, and I have needs myself.
She's choosing her free will by telling her daddy what happened to you, and I'm telling you, stay away from her because he will hurt you probably.
She's being controlled by him.
That's fine. That's fine. That's her choice, right? Free
Well-
choice, free will.
I think she should go do porn.
Okay, you need to leave.
Wait, did you just say I think she should go do porn?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Oh, I missed that the first time I watched this. He's telling the police officer what he thinks some random girl he's stalking should do.
You need to leave.
Well,
We're not doing anything. You need to leave.
I'm having a discussion on.
I'm having a discussion, telling you to leave.
Are you threatening me with
I'm not
arrest?
threatening you. I'm telling you to leave.
This
We're
is a
done.
public property.
We're done. Well, you can stay if you want.
If you do that on public property, I'll leave under.
You're free to do whatever you want to right here, but we're not doing anything else. I'm just giving you advice. The girl doesn't want to talk to you. Leave.
Yeah, but there's something's twisted about that.
There's something twisted about the way you think.
I was gonna let her make her own choice after the song.
Well, she's made her choice.
I was going to let her make her own choice while she is duct taped in the back of my van driving to Mexico. She was going to get to make up her own choice. As long as that choice involves fucking me, no other choice would be accepted. But yeah, she's going to have her own free will.
And I just don't think she had a reasonable opportunity to make a choice because I'm gonna blow up and I'm gonna be a famous DJ and I'm gonna be like,
How old is she?
I'm going to be a famous DJ.
Oh
This-
man, that immediately like flags of like, man, there's some like serious probably mental health stuff going on. That's just like so sad. Like I don't know. Whenever I watch this, it's funny, but I guess like from like somebody with a mental health background, especially, I just feel like sick. Where I'm just like, gosh, like this is just somebody who's like fully fallen through the cracks of the system. Like.
I'm gonna be a famous DJ. Homie, you work at Cracker Barrel and you're stalking girls. You really think you're gonna be a famous DJ? This guy probably watched one too many John Anthony videos too.
2 years older than me, 27.
How much?
27?
She's old enough to make her own mind. I'll speak with her. Is she working today?
I think so.
You have her phone number?
I believe so. But I can't stop recording the video.
Well, that's okay. I'll go buy her a job. She works at Cracker Barrel, right?
Correct.
Okay, I'll speak with her and then I'll get back with you, okay?
Alrighty, sounds
All right,
good.
there we go. No
Thank you
problem.
guys.
My favorite part is coming. This is where he's going to do his rant in the car.
Oh shit. You know what? Lindsay's dad. I hope you see this fucking video. You know what happens when women don't ever, come to terms with themselves? Bad shit happens.
Oh my god.
I don't know. Something the cops want to deny me trying to get her to be straight. Something is wrong about that. I don't see why these traditional ass motherfuckers think they can speak shit whenever it's this woke belligerent LGBT shit that happens.
He found some way to blame this on politics and LGBTQ community.
Is he implying that she's a lesbian there? That's
Yeah,
what I'm not always sure.
yeah. I think the implication is that because she's not into him, she must be a lesbian, and the cops are like standing up for her, and he's kind of trying to like convert her into being straight, and the cops are like trying to keep her to be a lesbian. There's like some kind of conspiracy going on with the with those traditional cops who want the girl to be LGBTQ friendly.
Yeah.
This is pure delusion at its finest. Like this guy should be like, damn, maybe there's something really, really off about my approach here. Maybe there's something I'm doing wrong. Nope, it's the LGBTQ community.
Well, that's kind of my question actually is there delusion going on? Like he's got a couple of like major hallmarks of delusion. So like common delusions are government conspiracy, grandiose sense of self, like extreme grandiose sense of self can be a form of delusion. And then there are also like romantic delusions that are decently common as well. And so it's like, it's possible that he's like, there are some like personality disorders that do border on like having like some element of psychotic pieces to it where it's like they actually are not in touch with reality. Like they actually aren't really grounded, but it's hard to tell them apart because they're decently coherent in like he was able to form thought, like somewhat intelligent responses and thoughts to the officers that he was talking to. I would argue like his line of thinking was bad, but it's not like he's like incoherent. He's coherent, but he's like delusional. And this is why I'm saying like this like screams mental health because like there are disorders that like create these types of individuals that just get left by society.
Yeah, I don't know if he actually has like a legitimate like mental condition that could be like diagnosed or something like that. I mean, I guess anyone could be diagnosed of anything, but like I guess he could be like schizophrenic or something like that. But it doesn't seem like that's the case. He just seems like a really, really weird guy who went down like the Blackpill rabbit hole or the incel rabbit hole, and is just completely delusional about the reality of his life, and like completely unwilling to take any kind of self-responsibility or accountability and be like, yeah, maybe there's something I'm doing that's a little off here. It's like, nope, it's got to be the problem with the, whatever, the system or the cops or the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
It's insane. All right, let's almost over.
Right now. And her father is controlling the bullshit. I just don't see it. I'm older than her fucking father. That's how I feel right now. I've lived this life. I've been the greatest. I've been down and I've been out. I don't know where this is going, but fucking snakes, man. She was gonna lure me into a trap whenever I was gonna go, play a song for her. It's just how it is. But shout out to all my bros.
What's actually really he's just going to say shout out to my bros and talk about what he said. But
it's over.
What's really, really interesting is actually to hear the coherency between when he's talking to the cops versus when he goes alone. That flags me of like mental illness specifically going on, because a lot of people who are like, because people see us like being psychotic or like crazy, as we would like label it, as like an on or off switch, right? You either are crazy and you're delusional and you just aren't in reality at all and you're seeing fairies at every corner and you don't know what's going on, or you're sane. And the reality is like, that's not really true. It's a spectrum, just like it's all a spectrum. And the fact that he like, to some degree, kind of like masked on when he was in front of the cops, he was coherent, his thoughts connected to one another. Whereas the moment he was alone in the car, he would say things like, I've been bigger than them, all of them. Right? Like a lot of his thoughts were disjointed and not super clear, like he wasn't putting full sentences together a lot after he got in the car, to me suggests that like it's possible that we're actually dealing with mental illness, and he's like learned how to somewhat like code switch a little bit when he's around people who can evaluate him, because he like a lot of people who like are dealing with like these bordering lines of psychotic disorders are sane enough to realize that people will think that they're crazy, but still holding on to these beliefs. So they'll actually try to like mask some of their like language and behavior around people that they are worried will try to like form them or like put them into like mental hospitals. Like that's kind of one of my immediate thoughts. And it reminds me of some of the clients who I knew did this.
Yeah, but like, where do you draw the line with someone's like has like a diagnosed disorder, or someone is just like a little off and weird, or maybe they just have, you know, really poor social skills? Because I see a lot of people who are really delusional about various aspects of their life. Now, this level, but I've seen this like with, you know, multiple people and just levels of delusion. I've seen this with like girls I've had on my podcast who like are sugar babies, and they've literally deluded themselves to thinking that they're like sex therapists. I'm like, dude, your job is to just bang old dudes. Like, that's fine, but like, you're not like some kind of like fucking rescue therapist. You're just sucking a bunch of old balls. But like, there's various levels of delusion. I remember in high school we had this guy who was like, literally, we were back, I guess, like freshman year of college or something like that, and we were like talking. He's like, yeah, you know, I was just fighting in Iraq. You know, there's landmines going off. We're like, dude, like, you never went to Iraq. Like, you've been home the whole summer. Like, who are you kidding right now? And he was like, no, I was in Iraq. We're like, dude, can we see like some military shit? He's like, oh, I don't have it on me. So like, you just see this, like, people just lie and are just so delusional. So like, where do you draw that line?
That is a very, I mean, we could dive into it, but that's a very big diagnostic question that psychology battles with all the time, which is essentially like, this is why diagnosis is complex. How do you know if something is the product of, here's the issue. Is the individual being defined by the disorder, or is the disorder defining the individual? And the reality is it's both, right? As somebody descends into like mental illness, the mental illness both begins to create their personality and individual nature, but also a large portion of their nature is informed and therefore somewhat separable into the mental illness, right? Like, this is why a lot of people with mental illness will be like, ah, man, that's my depression talking again, or that's my addiction talking again. They kind of have this othered experience with it. So you're asking the age-old question of psychology. How do we know if it's just like the product of like bad social skills? And then at what point do we call it a diagnosis? Even if it's bad social skills, I would still argue that it's a failing of society. If like these social skills could have been taught by home, by parents, by role models in their life.
I think the biggest issue is a lack of like any kind of self-accountability or responsibility on this guy's part. I mean, he's just like, he's found a way to spin the world and the narrative to make it seem like he's the victim, and he's not, you know, just a massive weirdo. Like, I would bet that if this guy was able to come to a point where he was able to like understand reality, and he's like, yeah, you know, I'm just being super fucking creepy, within like 6 months, if this guy was to do everything I say, he could have like a girlfriend or somewhat decent social life. Like, he's not atrocious looking. He has a weird haircut. He's kind of got a weird beard, but he just goes to the barbershop. That can be fixed. He's a little skinny fat, but you know, that can be fixed with some weight training. You know, going out doing some cold approach pickup and learning how to interact with people. You know, he can get basic social skills. But I think that will never happen because, again, this guy's like convinced that the issue is not him. The issue is society or this woman or something like that. So that's kind of a thing. But, you know, I think that, yeah, like I would venture to say that this guy, one, watches too much porn, and two, spends his time in like Blackpill or incel forums.
Possibly. He might also have like a psychotic disorder that's budding and have been like filled by society. Like, the reality is like probably both of these things are true. And it's really hard to disentangle which factor is like most important for creating who you are today. It's a conundrum of psychology.
What would you, okay, so hypothetically speaking, I wave a magic wand and you're this guy's coach. What would you do to help him?
I would get him seen by like a licensed diagnostician first. I'd really want to vet for there not being, there's enough markers to me that flag that there might be an actual psychotic disorder going on, that I'd want to be making sure that we're vetting for that first. Because, for example, if he does have a psychotic disorder, you're not going to be able to convince him of reality, because reality is always shifting in a little bit. Reality is like sand in his hand. Like, he can't hold it too tightly, or it like goes away more quickly, right? And in that case, we would want to be getting him on some medications to get him more grounded back in reality.
Okay, hypothetically speaking, he goes to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is like, yeah, this guy's just weird as fuck. He doesn't actually have any kind of severe mental disorder.
The reality is that a psychiatrist would never say that. They'd probably still just give him drugs.
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
Yeah. And well, let's assume it's a really good dietitian who just wants to be beyond the board and says, you know what, I won't give you medication. I don't think that you have a problem. I think you're just a weird fuck. The next steps that I would basically have would be like trying to give him like major exposure to people and things that counter his reality.
Mm-hmm.
Get him
Yeah,
to
I
touch
would,
grass, get him to volunteer, just get him in other spaces outside of his probably self-reinforcing world.
I would have him do cold approach, like with some guidance. I would have him like actually go up and start conversations with the girls. Start off like during the daytime when there's less pressure. Someone said this. He has to improve his looks. He has to work on his social skills well, but mainly needs to. I disagree. I think the main issue is his social skills. I don't care how good looking a guy like if this guy was with this level of weirdness and creepiness. He would get somewhat similar reaction until he gets like the one girl who's like, okay, this guy's so fucking hot. I will put up with his creepiness like for the time period. But I would say the big like, yeah, this guy can definitely improve on his looks, and he should focus on both. But the big elephant in the room is his complete lack of social skills.
Yeah, plus if he like actually has a psychotic disorder, looks are like one of the least important things right now. Getting him like back in touch with reality is going to be the most important thing.
Yeah, which kind of leads us. Okay, so we're I guess the point of this podcast was talking about incels.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of the statistics on the rise of sexlessness in men?
Yep, I have.
Yeah, it's pretty depressing. One of the big ones that I was going through was that it said that in 2008, something like only 8% of men under 30 were virgins. Now the number is about 27% or 28%. So we're talking about like almost a 4x increase in the number of men not getting laid, which is insane in the span of 15 years. That is a major, major transformation. So yeah, like this clearly is an issue. There's a lot of men who just, this is kind of an extreme end of the spectrum. I think most incels aren't like running around calling the police on girls that don't want to hang out with them. But they're just sitting at home. They're depressed. They're jerking off to OnlyFans. They're potentially suicidal, and their biggest issue is they feel like, they can't get women. No one loves them. They feel like they have low self-esteem. And this is something that's semi-personal to me. Although I wouldn't say I was ever an incel, but when I was like 18, 19, I was like severely depressed. And the big part of my depression was that I just, for the life of me, could not get a girl to like me, no matter how hard I tried. I would just strike out and strike out. And that's because I had like really bad social skills. I was just completely unaware of what I was doing. I was making a bunch of really foolish, silly mistakes that I realized in hindsight, right? But fortunately for me, instead of discovering the Blackpill or the incel community, I discovered the pickup community. And, it's largely optimistic. And I was like, oh, cool, I can improve my social skills. And ultimately I did that. So I guess this kicks off the topic is like, what can be done to help these incels? Or specifically, what should these incels do to help themselves? Because I think at the end of the day, you have to help yourself.
Yeah, you have to help yourself, and we need to correct society because it seems to be the case that we've got something going on in place that is creating more of this, right? We have a system. So it's like, even if say I waved a wand and I fixed every single incel that existed, if the system that's producing them still exists, by next year, we're going to have a similar problem, or within the next 10 years, right? As we get more being made. So there's kind of two approaches. We have to I appreciate you because I think the red pill community really focuses like boots on the ground, individuals. How do we just help this one guy figure out his problems? I mean, it's so complex, and this is where probably we'll disagree on certain areas, right? Like I take a lot of the times the like mental health approach, self-value, like self-improvement goal, which is like beyond just sex, because I think like I've said before, and a lot of people don't like this take, I think that sex is oftentimes a replacement for intimacy for men. I think sex is good, and I think men really are genuinely wanting sex. Like I think incels, they don't just want sex. They feel like they've been starved. They're like 2% body fat. They're just bone thin. They're desperate for sex. Like somebody who is starved would be desperate for food. Like somebody who hasn't breathed in like a minute and a half is desperate for oxygen. So I do understand that. And so I'm not dismissing the fact that incels are wanting sex. The issue is that beyond sex, they also want to be seen and they want intimacy, right? And so what I want to do is like angle individuals towards a life that is going to not only give you sex, but more so it's going to give you fulfilling relationships, which typically gives you fulfilling sex.
All right, so you mentioned they're addressing it from like a society perspective. So what would that be? I wave a magic wand, I make you president, dictator of the United States. So what are your first orders?
Yeah, I am God. Um, I mean, the first order would basically be an immediate overhaul of probably the field of psychology in general. I think it vastly underserves men. I think that we have increasingly villainized young men to the point that most psychologists, I think, literally are so out of touch with what an
Hmm.
average, unattractive, weird guy's experience is that they
Hmm.
can't even sympathize. They just want to like label them as like problems.
Hmm.
And then be like, they should just like change their worldview and stop being misogynistic, which is true. They should change their worldview and not be misogynistic. But if you're their therapist, that's not your job. Your job is to help them be happy. I also think in psychology, we focused so much on practices that work really well for women that we've just kind of pretended like these generalized onto men because most psychology research is done on first year graduate psych students. Turns out most first year graduate psych students are women, right? So, like in my study that I did a randomized control trial where I gave a prevention intervention for social anxiety. 80% of my participants were women. So, can I really say that my method generalizes over to men? Not really. That seems not wise to do. And yet that's a really big problem in psychology that we've not addressed. And so when incels say therapy doesn't work for me, 50% of incels report going to therapy, 14% report having it be successful. That's a problem. That means therapy's failing them because everyone else reports like an 80% success rate. So like something's happening. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, sorry
Okay.
for being a freaking stream cell over here, guys. Sorry.
It's okay.
I think I got it figured out. Apologies,
Yeah.
but I was listening to everything you guys are talking about. So continue.
I don't know if you
No
guys figured it out
worries.
completely because you just froze there for a second, but we can give it a whirl. See, maybe it'll get better. But yeah, so I mean, I agree with you on that one. Okay, overhaul the field of psychology. I think also they have an over reliance on various pharmaceutical drugs, not enough on alternative methods, like for example, vitamin deficiencies, hormone imbalances, stuff like that. So yeah, I would agree with the idea of overhauling psychology for sure. Like for example, something as simple as having Lyme disease that's undiagnosed can totally fuck up with your mental state. At least it did for me. And for me, the solution wasn't to like take SSRIs; it was to like take antibiotics and fix the Lyme disease, right? So like there's a whole bunch of shit, or having your testosterone be like really low, like that would make you feel super anxious. But again, for you, like an SSRI isn't really going to help you. What you need to do is get your testosterone to optimal levels, and then you'll just feel a lot better, right? Or vitamin mineral deficiencies can do the same thing. Uh,
So
so
I
yeah,
think there's a misunderstanding. Psychology isn't the same thing as psychiatry. Psychiatry is what medicates. Psychiatry is who prescribes medications. Psychologists aren't allowed to prescribe medication.
oh right,
Psychologists only give therapy. So when I'm talking about psychology, I'm talking about therapists. I'm not talking about psychiatrists.
mm,
Yeah, just to clarify that.
okay. But I would still say for psychiatrists, like there should be something done with like the over reliance on like pharmaceutical drugs. Um, but so what would be some of the other things that you think could be done from a society level?
Sorry, was that to me
Or anyone
or to
really?
Kevin?
Both of you guys.
You can go ahead first, Kyla. I'm still catching up on this conversation.
I had a really loud super chat, so I actually didn't hear your question. I apologize.
What do you think? What are some other things that you think could be done from a society level?
To be honest, we got to figure out single motherhood and male role models. Young men just don't have a lot of good male role models, especially in their childhood when they're growing up. They often have, unless they get involved in sports, they often have very limited male role models, especially if there's no dads in the house, right? So, I don't know how to fix that. If I could wave a wand, it'd be great if I could convince a bunch of men to become teachers, but being a teacher doesn't pay very well, and a lot of men
You
aren't
have to
interested in
give
being
like some
teachers.
kind of like major tax benefits and not divorcing your wife and leaving your kids. Like you get like 50% off your taxes if you like don't bounce on your like fucking
Well,
baby.
let's be honest, most single moms aren't struggling because their partner divorced them and ran away. They're pump and dumping is more the bigger issue. And to be honest, like a lot of women are not careful with birth control and not like mindful of like having safe practices in sex to not be getting pregnant, right? So like that would be the responsibility on women. The responsibility on men would be to like not pump and dump, wear condoms. Even if she says she's on birth control, just wear a condom just in case. You don't want to have to pay that alimony, buddy. So yeah, reducing single motherhood and then providing, honestly, if it took tax incentives to get men to be good role models for young boys, I'd do it. The problem is like, how do we vet the young men? How do we ensure that it's not just like pedophilic men that are coming in trying to like hang out with all the children? And there's so many. And if you incentivize it, like those type of men are going to be more incentivized to come into the space. So it's complicated.
Yeah, I
is the
was
answer.
kidding when I said about like tax incentives. One thing I think could be done is to do sex therapists like they have in like Amsterdam and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What do you think about that? Like, it's a
Genius.
crossover.
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because
I
I
agree.
genuinely think so many incels are so obsessed with sex that they literally won't think about anything else as far as an
Yeah.
alternative. So it's like, if we could normalize it, here's the issue. Most people are going to think, because incels could pay for box. Like they could, they just don't. Because they think it's like bad. So we'd have to like normalize to some extent paying for box and not seeing it as a bad thing, which I think, I don't know if you could
Whoa,
convince
I
a
totally
bunch of,
disagree with that.
you think so? You think a bunch of incels would be like,
Yes.
it's super cool to go to a sex therapist to get my first lay.
I don't know. There's a lot of like incels or maybe black, whatever you call them, that already sort of pay for box. But I think if they do go pay for box, I don't think that that's going to help them. I think that'll hurt them even more in the sense that it'll kind of solidify that self-identity of, oh, I'm such a loser, I need to go pay for box. Meanwhile, these other guys don't, you know? So I understand maybe that's a solution, but like you said, that solution's already out there, you know? So I don't know if like
think there's
legalizing or even normalizing it will help. I'm not really convinced by that.
But I think there's a big difference between paying for prostitutes and having like a sex therapist. Like a prostitute, you fucking go into a hotel room, you fuck her for 10 minutes, she kind of gives you a weird look, you pay her money, it's like this awkward thing. Versus sex therapist, I think would do a lot more for these guys to like show them like, hey, intimacy, like this is how you touch a girl, this is how you kiss a girl, like this is, you know, this is what girls like, this is what girls don't like that could give them, it's like a little bit of a crossover between having a legitimate female experience in the prostitute, but somewhere in the middle. It's not completely like on the whole like pay for play box category. It's not like as far as like having a real girl. It's somewhere in the middle, right? So I think that's a better stepping stone for those guys, especially if it's something that's like, you know, like you go see like a therapist and the therapist is like, hey, you know, what you need to do is you need to get a sex surrogate. So it's something that's like encouraged by like mainstream psychology. And so the guy's like, oh, okay, yeah, let me fucking try it. And then, you know, these guys are able to have an experience with a woman, not like a prostitute who just wants to get the fuck out of there because she thinks they're disgusting, but like a woman who's actually like willing to be intimate with them and like spend time with them. And then like, you know, maybe they see it's not that big of a deal. And maybe that girl gives them tips on how to be around other women, you know? I don't know. It's like a crossover between like a fucking hooker and a dating coach to some extent.
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if we could get it there. We definitely aren't there right now, but I think we underestimate the capacity that we can socialize stuff. Like, remember for millennials how anime was like the weirdest shit, and if you were into anime, you were like the weird kid that nobody liked. In Gen Z, unironically, if you're into anime, you're kind of like a punk rebel cool kid. Like, anime is becoming mainstream and cool and popular, which shows me I was born in the wrong fucking generation. I could have been cool back in the day. But I think we underestimate the capacity to normalize things. I don't know if we'd get it to the point where people are like, you're really cool for having to pay a sex therapist to have sex for the first time. But it might get to the point where people are like, yeah, fair enough. Especially if like enough guys are doing it and being like less copy about it. I would like to hope that it would at least be a viable option. If nothing else, that like if 50% of incels still did it and it really helped improve like their quality of life and their mindsets towards women, and they had to cope a little bit and they would just pretend that Stacy wasn't their therapist. Stacy was actually like their first casual hookup. I'd be fine if they had that layer of cope, but it also improved their like later behavior and their misogyny.
You know what's really interesting, actually? So I don't live in Thailand now. I'm in a different place in Asia, but Thailand, it's so common for guys, especially older guys, to come over and just like hang out with a bunch of prostitutes. Maybe I could do like interviews with them for those who are willing to maybe talk even anonymously, because it's almost like, okay, we can theorize about this stuff all day, but that would almost sort of be like an experiment to see, okay, what's like the condition of guys who actually like do sex tourism or whatever, like, because a lot of them probably, I'd imagine, they were just failing back home. So maybe that's their solution, is to come to like, you know, poorer countries and hang out with hookers, and a lot of them claim that they have like some quasi relationships with these women. So I don't know if that would make them a sex therapist, but yeah.
Dude, that would be so funny if you did that video. If you just interview a bunch of horny old men who fuck like prostitutes, that would be really funny.
Well, some of them might not be that way. So I don't know. I don't really know that scene too much. I'm just kind of stereotyping a bit, but that'll be pretty interesting. That just
I always
gives me an
get
idea.
I always get weird with the Thailand like red light district because there's so much like weird pedophilic or like pedographic stuff that goes on that I'm like, "Ugh. Just be careful. You never want to interview a
there?
pedophile."
Oh, there's a lot of pedophiles there.
It's a lot
I
more
don't know,
access.
but there's a bunch of weird people and dudes, and it's just it's a weird area. I don't know, because I mostly hang out in like expat areas and the nicer parts of town or whatever. Obviously, I kind of avoid the red light district, so I don't know too much about it, but I think that'd be interesting because I really I'm not going to sit here and act like I know the answer of whether like whore maxing or whatever, for lack of a better word, or however the fuck you want to call it, if that's actually like a viable solution or not. It just seems to me that it would probably not really fix the mindsets of these guys, right?
Yes.
But again, not saying whore maxing. I'm saying like something in between, like a sex therapist, like a sex surrogate, like they have in like Amsterdam. It is a little different than just like a regular prostitute.
Yeah, because like the biggest thing you don't want to do is you don't want to like reinforce to incels that the role of women is to like be a fleshlight for you to stick your dick into, right? Like I really don't want to like maintain some element of like women are just there for your pleasure, which I think prostitutes does reinforce that, whereas like a sex therapist necessarily like to some extent offsets that because that would probably be part of the like negotiation and conversation.
Yeah, like you would have to. I'm assuming like the sex therapists have to go through some psychological training and shit like that, or at least they should, to be part of the job. It'd be so funny if insurance. Oh, we lost Kevin. It'd be so funny if they got insurance to pay for that. Like you're fucking trying to like, like deduct it from Aetna or something like that. You only get 40 visits with a sex surrogate a year. Oh god damn it, only 40. What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be insured anytime soon. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, definitely not. They have all these interesting psychological like modalities that are just like not covered by insurance, but like are pretty interesting. Like one is neurofeedback. Are you familiar with that?
Yep.
Yeah, like that one shows a lot of promise, especially like PTSD and shit like that. There's a whole bunch of other shit. I mean, I'm kind of forgetting it. I personally, I've done hypnotherapy and I found it really interesting. I did like 20 sessions of hypno. But yeah, okay. So the third thing I would do if I was in charge is, and no joke, I would tell every therapist to recommend the Incels my YouTube channel. I feel like if all these incels went on my YouTube channel and they saw that they could improve their results with women through practical, tangible ways, like sure, not all of them would do it, but I think that would take care of like 50% of the problem, honestly. If like these guys had like good information, like, hey man, like you have like, okay, this guy used to suck with girls. He doesn't suck with girls anymore. Here's what he did to stop sucking with girls. Here's the method. Here's how you get there. Like just follow these steps, right? Something very simple and straightforward. And like, this is how you take responsibility. This is how you have a better mindset. I don't know. I feel like that would go a long way.
How do you go about changing their mindsets towards women? Because I genuinely think that is a concern. Like, I think that it probably gets over vilified within lots of spaces, but I don't think that it's not a problem.
Well, what do you think their mindset is towards women?
I think it's varied, right? So I think if we go with the incel trope, there's going to be some element of misogyny. I'm going to guess that like some incels view women as like probably in the most extreme form, right? If we picture them as like these starving beings who are like sitting at a table full of food, probably in the most extreme form, the incel looks at the women and they're like a starving like sycophant, and the woman is like this obese person with all the food hoard around them, and they're just shoveling their face full and then laughing and like full of grease all over them, being like, you cannot have any, right? So there's like that disgust and disdain. I think that's probably the most extreme case. To like some probably just experience them as like feared things because they know that like everything they want comes from a woman, but also because of that, she has the greatest capacity to like cut him down when she rejects him. So I think there's a mixture of like fear and disdain and all sorts of things. And so it's like, I think fear could be overcome by just like simple exposure, but something like the disdain and the dehumanizing, so the more extreme stuff, I don't think just exposure works, because we know, for example, there's tons of red pill guys in this space who get really good game. They get pretty good with women and they still treat them like shit. And they still talk about women in really shitty ways or like sexist ways.
I would argue that no one like that exists. I don't know any guy who's really good with women who still treats them like shit. Like, could you give me an example? Because Fresh and Fit is
Totally
not really
agree
good
with
with
you,
women, so
Alex.
they wouldn't
Yeah.
count. Like, they're like
Yep, I agree.
intermediate at best.
They're probably still having sex. I think, to be honest, I am a little
Yeah,
bit
with their
curious
hands.
about Ayande's general predisposition with women. I think DJ Academics is a good example of somebody. I think Sneeko is a good example of somebody who is pretty good with women, but also like treats them with a certain element of disdain sometimes.
I do think that the DJ Academics has a massive amounts of clout, and he's said publicly that's how he gets like 95% of girls. So yeah, I don't think he has like good game or anything. I just think that he's famous, and that's how he gets girls. In terms of Sneeko, he did pretty well in that speed date. I will give him that. Yeah, I think Sneeko's just an anomaly. He's just a fucking enigma in himself. I don't know. I feel like the rules of society don't really apply to Sneeko. His mind is just like
What it seemed like with him, he adopted the red pill stuff a lot later. I mean, he always seemed like in terms of like politics and stuff and how society works, he's always seemed pretty red pill. But in terms of women, it seems like that's something that's been more sort of.
we keep losing.
Oh,
you,
we
Kevin.
lost him.
Damn it.
Kevin, you really got a
Oh.
Wi-Fi max, bro.
It's gone. It's always
All right.
sideways and then gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for example, do you think the way that you guys engage with me is the same way that most red pillars engage with me?
No, definitely not.
Right. Like, I would say you guys treat me with like probably more respect than I deserve in some ways. Like, you guys treat me super, super well. And you're
Well,
really,
you're a
really
guest
good
on my
faith with
show.
me.
How else am I going to treat you? Like what am I going to do? Be a dick to you? Like you're coming
We
on the
could
show.
be. We
I
could
get
be, right? I think there's a difference in that, like, there isn't like this disdain. Like, a lot of men who are going to treat me more shittily. Sometimes it's deserved because sometimes I'm just a bitch, right? But sometimes I get treated really shittily by men when I debate them because they're like, you can feel it as a woman. We're like, I'm sure you've experienced this probably with rad femmes too, where it's like, it doesn't matter how good faith you are. They hate you because you're a man. They just hate you. It doesn't matter what you say. They just think you're kind of scum, right? I don't get the scum feeling from a lot of men. I either get the like, you're just silly and you don't know what you're talking about. Or sometimes I get like the disdain, like, I hate you, but not because I think you're scum, but because like you're both the feared and desired thing. So I have like this weird, tense, aggressive relationship with you. You know what I
But
mean?
but I would argue that all those guys are not really good with women because you can't really be good with women and hate women at the same time. That's like counterintuitive. That's like you
They're
can't
good
be-
with some women, right? Though they're really good with like material women, for example, especially if they get like enough money. Like those guys do quite well, even though they treat women like shit.
But I would argue that like buying sugar babies is not like actually like good social skills. Like using your money to get chicks, that's like not indicative of any kind of skill with women, or using clout.
Mhm.
Like skill with women is being able to go up to a girl on the street and charm the shit out of her, right? And like you just can't really accomplish that while hating women at the same time because it will like the girl will feel that you have some kind of disdain for her and you will strike out. Therefore, like in order to get really good with women, you can't hate women. Like I don't think those are possible. You can sleep with a lot of women, but that's not the same thing as being good with women, right? If you're using clout or money. But yeah, I would agree with you that I think a lot of incels do have this like view of women, like they feel like they're excluded from the party, like they're like the cool kids are not letting them in, right? And I kind of felt that to some extent. I guess when I was in high school, I was probably not like I was definitely not one of the cool kids. I was like not a complete loser, but like probably like one step above that, I would say. So I was never invited to like the cool kids parties or whatever. I always felt like disdain for the cool kids, right? I was just like, ugh, like hate these guys. But then like as I got older, and then I would see like the quote unquote cool kids like 5-10 years later, and like I had normal conversations with them. I stopped hating them, and I was just like they're just normal fucking people. And so I think that through the process of these incels, like actually getting good with girls and being exposed to them and realizing that they're just people. There's not this conspiracy of hot girls who are trying to keep you from having sex. They're just human beings who in a lot of ways are similar to you. Like the hatred will go away because you're no longer excluded. Like if you get, like, for example, if I take an incel, right, and I have a magic wand and I get, for 30 days, a new hot girl that is really, really into him and is super nice to him, I guarantee you by day 31, he's going to be one, way more confident, and two, he's not really going to hate women, at least not nearly as much.
I would say for the most part, especially if they're having good experiences, but I do think that there are men who have disdain for women who are decently successful with women. And I do think that you can have decent game with women and still have some element of disdain. And so what I'm saying is I agree that if you're building towards like having good rapport and good social skills with women and stuff, more or less we would hope to see the disdain go down. What my question is should pickup artists be adding to their like arsenal of like equipment that they're giving these young men some element that's like actively trying to like um undo some of like the disdain that they might have? For example, like I think it's really important for young men to know that like most internet women and most like really loud women who are in political state do not speak for the majority of women. Most women are not on the internet. They're not speaking on public media. They're like hanging out with their friends, watching Netflix. They're
Sure.
like completing their nursing degree. If you talk to them, they're like pretty nice. They're a little
Mhm.
bit fragile. They kind of manifest too
Mhm.
much. And like they're going to have, if you ask them their opinions on stuff, they're going to have like the dumb, stereotypical opinions sometimes. But they're actually like really kind to people a lot of the time,
Mhm.
especially if you just like treat them well and make them feel safe.
Yeah, they just kind of have their guard up as they're walking around on the street because they're used to being like catcalled. But like once you get past their like, guard, they're very nice, decent human beings. Yeah, totally agree. Especially once you get out of cities like Miami or LA and you go more to like, suburbs or like second tier cities. Yeah, of course. Like
Mhm.
most people in general are like fairly nice and decent, right? Um, but I think that's something you have to experience. Like I've told this, like a lot of the people I debate, especially like the black pillars, they're convinced that all women are like the crazy feminists that they see on Fresh and Fit or whatever, right? Like they think that's every girl. And like when I tell them, like, dude, that's actually a very small percentage of girls. Most girls are not like that. They hear me, but they don't comprehend me. Like it's not resonating. They're like, oh, okay, sure, Alex. Like, oh, like, yeah, not all girls are crazy. Okay, Alex. It's like kind of that type of thing. So I think it's like you have to experience that, like, in order for that to really resonate. Like you have to actually have a good interaction with a kind girl, and then you can be like, yeah, you know what? Like, not all girls suck, right? But I just don't think you can tell someone that and have that like really resonate with them. Like, I think they have to experience that. I think it's just one of those things that must be experienced. If it was as easy as like me just telling them that, then this would be a very easy problem to solve.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
they
For
just,
sure.
So I think that like I don't know, like in terms of like pickup artists giving them tools, I think it's like, I can tell them like, hey, listen, guys, a lot of women are really cool. Most women are very kind. There's great girls out there. It's not over for you. Blah blah blah. But it'll go in one ear and out the other, right? It's not
Mhm.
like something that's going to resonate in them if they are at that point with their life where they haven't experienced that. So I think the best thing I could do is just give them some,
Sorry.
oh, my
Holy
dog Alex is pretty
moly.
funny.
She was
Give
just playing in the snow, so she's all excited.
Create some disbelief to their narrative, like kind of disrupt the narrative to some extent. So I'm not convincing them. I'm just getting them to question their assumption and getting them to suspend their disbelief and get those experiences where they actually experience meeting a kind girl. And then their actual inner world will start to shift and change. So that would be kind of like my take on that.
I guess what I would argue is I think what pickup artists do is some of the things you guys give men is soft skills, like, right? Like actual technical skills of like how to phrase sentences, how to carry their body language, like actual like lived skills that they can
Mhm.
play out behaviorally. But a lot of the skills you give men is mindsets, right? So you give men, I think a lot of the time, preventative mindsets. So some element of like pumping themselves up. I don't know what specifically you tell men, but you've got to do some sort of thought challenge so that the first 18 times that they get rejected, they're willing to go back out there and try, because that is both a behavioral thing of giving it a try, but there's a mindset in there, some sort of resilient mindset. And so what I would argue is basically the disdain that a lot of men have for women could probably be offset by the behavioral experience of eventually having a woman treat them well, but also a mindset about how they're engaging with the world at large. And that's something I think a lot of pickup artistry, while you guys talk a lot more about soft skills, I think a lot of pickup artistry is actually mindsets. Like you're cultivating in cognitive behavioral terms, you're creating like healthy thought processes. You guys probably thought challenge them constantly. I bet you when they like have their 18 busts in a row, you're like, I know, man, this is just what we expected. But what do you want to do? We can either give up and basically like kill ourselves, or we can get back out there and keep trying, right? Which is like a thought challenge essentially. Which is really interesting, actually. This is why I hate when people fully dismiss the red pill, because I'm like, look, they're doing more good for men a lot of times than like many other spheres on the planet. So like we probably shouldn't just dismiss it outright. Curious what you think about that.
Well, okay, I agree. I sort of agree with you. Like, for example, if I can make a bet. One guy who has like the best soft skills, like he knows every technique, but his mindsets suck. Another guy who doesn't know any soft skills, but he has the best mindset. I will put my money on the second guy all day, every day. The guy with all the right mindsets will do better than the first guy, 100%. Right. The problem is that mindsets are a lot harder to. I can explain to them the mindsets very easily, but for the mindsets to like actually resonate with them, because it's not enough for you to understand the mindset consciously, right? Like for example, one mindset is have an abundance mindset, right? So like if a girl rejects you, it's not a big deal. She's not the only girl out there, right? That's something I can tell them, but in order for them to really internalize that, that's a whole separate thing, right? So the question is how do you get guys not only to understand the mindsets, which is the easy part, but actually to internalize their correct mindsets? And that's where things get really, really tricky, internalizing the mindsets, right? And like, I think different methods work for different people. For me, a lot of what worked is just like a lot of repetition and exposure therapy and kind of pushing through pain. But that's not a method that I think works for everybody. I'm just kind of like wired to be insanely resilient compared to most individuals. But so yeah, I don't actually have a good answer to the best way to instill correct mindsets in men. That's like something I'm still always thinking about. I can only like speak on the things that worked for me. But yeah, that's where I think that why the reason a lot of pickup artists don't focus on that is because that stuff is just a lot harder and it's a lot less clear. Because it's very easy to explain. Okay, so when the girl leans back, you lean back, right? Nothing difficult there. The guy just has to recognize that. Okay, when you're on a date with a girl, before you kiss the girl, put your hand on her knee and kind of feel out the vibe, right? Very easy things, like technical game. But have an abundance mindset. Don't get faced by rejection. Easy to understand, very hard to internalize.
Unless you systematize it, which is what CBT does. CBT is just systematized mindsets.
Yeah, but do you think CBT? How would CBT approach something like this? Like, what would be the CBT approach to like, don't get faced by rejection or have an abundance mindset?
Well, if somebody gets rejected, I would basically ask, what do you think are the reasons that she rejected you? And then probably if they have a very, very like self-loathing worldview, they'll be like, because I'm gross and ugly and terrible and blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, okay, what do you think is the possible best explanation for why she rejected you? And it's like, well, maybe she just didn't say it, but she's actually just dating somebody else. Like, okay, what do you think is the worst possible reason? It's like, well, she hates me and she thinks I'm gross. I'm like, okay. So doesn't it seem a little strange that between the two extremes, your assessment of the situation would be to be the extreme, pick the extremely bad as the most reasonable answer for what's going on? Wouldn't it make more sense that the answer is somewhere in the middle? What do you think is some alternative explanation that falls a little bit more in between these two explanations? And people are going to be like, oh, okay, well, it's possible that like I did maybe not approach her super well and make her feel super comfortable, but also like maybe she's just like not really looking for that. So I just like didn't get over the threshold of interest for her. Right. So it's like a much more nuanced, much less like emotionally intense interpretation of the rejection. That's going to make you probably more willing to go out next time because you're like, look, not all rejections are just like the end of the world and mean the worst possible thing about me. You know
I kind of like that. Damn, you made me kind of like, if I had the time and energy, I would go get a psychology degree. Imagine combining like pickup artistry with psychology, like CBT practices. Oh shit, you could be a really effective lethal fucking coaching machine.
I know. What am I saying? What do you think I'm doing?
That would be well, you're not a pickup artist though, right?
I don't do pickup artistry, but I definitely educate people on dating skills with my husband all the time, and we blend his pickup artist skills with my psych takes.
Yeah, that could be interesting combining that. Yeah, I'm sure there are like, psychological tools, for instilling mindsets in people. Yeah, that is interesting. So you just basically get them to like question their assumptions, right? And you lead them down the path, and they find that you instead of telling them the conclusion, you kind of ask them questions that get them to arrive to the conclusion that you want them to go to. So it's like kind of playing chess with their mind.
Yeah, it's called thought challenging. That task, you can find it for free. There's tons and tons of free samples of how to do thought challenging. Anyone can download like a CBT workbook for free.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I think also on the flip side, I think if every person who struggled with women or every incel became really committed to going to the gym, I think not all their problems would go away, but like a nice chunk of them would go away. Because I think a lot of this stuff that you instill through going to the gym repeatedly and building muscle is, for example, I have never once met a guy who's really jacked who complains about girls. I've met really jacked guys who don't get girls, but they're always like, yeah, bro, I don't know. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Can you improve my Tinder profile? They're never negative. They're always positive, because something about like going through years of hard training and pushing through all the plateaus and, pain points makes you more positive of a person, right? Or maybe it's just endorphins from working out. Who the fuck knows? Probably a combination of both of those. So I think that by that virtue, if like all these incels like actually committed, like to going to the gym, like doing weight training for years, like first of all, they would look better. So girls would be more attracted to them. Second of all, they would feel better, right? Because their endorphins would be a lot higher. They would feel better about themselves when they look in the mirror. And I think third of all, some of the mindsets that are, constructive for, meeting women will be instilled in them, by going to the gym. So what do you think? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, you're describing a growth mindset, which is what I did my thesis in. And growth mindsets are my favorite thing because I am actually obsessed with mindsets. I think if we can instill the proper, like, basic cognitive tools into people, most problems will just resolve themselves. Because if people think better, they'll do better, right? So one mindset that I love that you're talking about is a growth mindset, which basically says, is this something I could do something about? Is it changeable? And the answer is to almost all things, yes, right? Now, when we come across things that aren't changeable, like chronic illnesses that are untreatable, that's a whole other problem. But when it comes to the gym, essentially what you're doing at the gym is cultivating a growth mindset, which means you come across obstacles, you push, 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 and you overcome them. And then you begin to learn through repetition. If I come across obstacles, my response doesn't need to be like to fall apart and like turn in on myself and blame the world and never try again. My response goes, okay, I probably need a new strategy, try again, get over the obstacle. And so I think what you're basically cultivating in the gym is a growth mindset. And I think growth mindsets are like the most important thing. I think a lot of men have very, what we call fixed mindsets. They very much view like things as just, they are what they are and they can't change. And it's like the reality is like, of course they can. Almost everything is changing all the time. Change is almost always possible for most things. Even with chronic illness, you can see up and downs of like pain and like symptoms. You can change things to improve your life so that your symptoms are less worse. So that's what I would say. Here's your cultivating a mindset.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had a chronic illness for 6 years, Lyme disease. So it's been like, yeah, but like I've noticed most people in the Lyme community, I actually don't really get involved like as much as I like helping other people with Lyme. And I will if someone asks me. I'm never like active in the Lyme community because it's so negative. And rightfully so, because Lyme is a really, really shitty disease and kind of fucks you up and you're constantly in pain and you feel like you're going crazy. But like the Lyme community overall is like really like negative and people are really sad and miserable, right? So it's like I try to like generally speaking like stay away from that community to the best of my ability. But yeah, it's been like I don't know, kind of what I've noticed is like, well, if I can get through like chronic pain, I can probably get through anything else. I can get through any amount of rejection. I can get through any amount of business challenges. I get through any amount of social challenges, right? So I think also like having some kind of adversity in your life. I mean, it's better if it's not a chronic disease. It's probably better if it's something a little bit less severe. But, I think that like people in like third world countries, like, I don't know. I don't think they have incels in Africa, for example, or in like, those countries. Like, I think it's more of a country problem of first world countries because people in third world countries experience real strife and challenges. And then something as mundane as like getting better with girls is like, dude, I've been working at the fucking diamond mines for 80 hours this week. You think I can't meet a girl? Get the fuck out of here. Like, you think I'm going to have a hard time like talking to a girl? So what
do you think I would care? That's actually interesting because that points to the argument that incels probably don't need sex. I get that they want sex, but if like the reality is like there's probably tons of men in Africa that aren't getting sex. The issue is that they probably don't have like the time, space, or like we create a lot of our own problems in the first world, right? Like we're like, I don't have any problems. I can eat until I'm obese. I can sit around and make money from my computer. I can fucking jack off and make money off of Dogecoin all day. I don't really have problems. And so we invent problems instead, like with our brains. And it feels to me in a lot of ways like incels are creating a problem of perception where they like perceive kind of a relative gap because there is a relative gap. Fuck boys are getting most of the sex and they're getting none of the sex. They feel angry about that. And the disparity is what like drives the issue. This is kind of the same, like in nations with major wealth gaps, the only thing that's really an issue is the perceived wealth gap. So if there's a really big wealth gap, but people don't really see it as an issue or they see it as like normal, most people aren't too upset or distressed by it. But if they believe that there is a disparity and that this disparity is a problem, that's where the psychological issues, that's where the anxiety and the anger and the depression typically comes from, which is the perceived disparity, which is actually really interesting to me.
Yeah, I think another thing I would advocate is that every single incel read the book The Rise of Superman and start trying to experience flow states. Are you familiar with flow states?
Yep.
I think that something really magical happens when you're in a flow state where all your problems go away. You're very much in the moment and you feel a lot more positive and motivated. And you can get into a flow state in a variety of ways. I used to snowboard. I used to want to be a professional snowboarder, and I would hit flow states all the time snowboarding. And it's like all your problems just disappear. You're at peace. You're in the moment. You feel so happy. You can do anything, right? But you can get into a social flow state. I experience flow states all the time doing cold approach pickup, right? It's just like, not that I have that many negative thoughts nowadays, but there's always some thoughts in the back of my mind, like, why am I doing pickup? I could be live streaming right now, or like, man, I could just, hang out with my girlfriend. I don't need to like all this like kind of chatter, but all the chatter just shuts off. And your brain almost like resets itself when you get into like a nice flow state. So I think that if these incels could experience flow states, especially social flow states, which they can, it's definitely doable. They could, when they come out of the flow state, it's almost like a psychedelic experience. But I think it's like safer than psychedelics because there's no such thing as like a bad flow state. Your mind almost like kind of resets a little bit and you're just a little bit more positive. You eventually go back to being negative. You're a negative person, but you get that like nice long break from that negativity and it kind of gives you like perspective. And it's like, you're like, wait, I'm not always this really negative person. I'm just this negative person sometimes. So maybe I could work on being that negative person a little bit less. Right. So I think that's another thing. But I severely doubt any incels like familiar with the concept of flow states or whatever.
Well, that's actually what neurofeedback can be really good for. Is neurofeedback can train you into moving into flow states more like naturally, so you can like trigger it a bit better. So like they do neurofeedback for ADHD people a lot of the time. So a lot of ADHD people think that they experience hyperfocus and hyper like disattention essentially. What they actually experience is basically chronic inattention. And then when they experience flow state, it's so unlike anything they've ever experienced because they're so focused on something that they consider it hyper-focused because it feels so super powerful. And they have a hard time breaking out of flow because they're not used to moving in and out. Neurotypical people experience flow states all the time. So it's not like as wowing to them. So sorry, ADHD people, you're experiencing a normal thing. It's just so atypical for you that it feels like a magical thing. But one way that we treat ADHD, there's a newer mechanism of treating ADHD, which is to give them neurofeedback machines that you basically hook up like an EEG to their head.
I've done those.
Yeah, they're super fun. So did you play the video game one or did you do the thunderstorm, like sound one?
I've done both. I've done the direct neurofeedback and indirect neurofeedback.
Okay. Yeah. It's super cool because it actually teaches them how to go more and more into flow state more often. And like you basically are training your brain to be in alpha waves, which is like what the waves your brains give off when you're in flow state because your brain is electro and magnetic. So yeah, it's super cool. I don't know if flow state would fix incels necessarily.
Well, I don't think it would just like completely fix them. I think it's like part of a multi-package solution that could snap them out of their negative mindset for a period of time.
Yeah.
Like a psychedelic experience. It kind of gives you perspective.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it would be a good idea to give a bunch of incel psychedelics. Like I feel like a small percentage of them are going to like do some really fucked up crazy shit. So it's like a much safer version of just getting them into a flow state than giving them like shrooms or acid. But yeah, well, I think the last thing I would say on this is getting away from their negative communities. I think a lot of the incels, they find comfort amongst other incels or black pillars, like this doomsday mindset where they all just complain how it's like over and blah, blah. And you get like this kind of like validation because it's like, oh, I got rejected as well today too. I got rejected even more, right? They're almost like getting off on like their misery. But I think like snapping that person out of it, like completely taking them out of that community and taking them into a much more positive community would just do wonders for their overall mental well-being.
Yeah, this is why I can't emphasize enough to like men who are like, where do I meet women? I'm just like, just go out of like leave your house, like go into co-ed spaces, go volunteer, please, 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 please volunteer, co-ed sports, just leave, do a drama class, join an anime club. I don't give a fuck where you're going, leave your house, because life is better when you're not. Well, I shouldn't say when you're not on the internet, because life can be rough for neurodivergent people outside of the internet, but I think, yeah, just like exposing yourself to more and more people. This is why, like, most people who I think travel a lot, for example, and talk to a ton of people have a really hard time being radical, because they start to realize that there's so many different people in this world that do their life so differently in ways that they never even conceived of being possible, that it's hard to be rigid in your worldview when you realize that there's so much infinite things that you don't know and you don't know to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that? Those are kind of my thoughts on incels. I would say, to sum it up, better therapy, fixing potential physical problems. Like, I think everyone should do a micronutrient test, even if you're healthy. I think everyone should do that. I do one once every 2 years. And it's not the one that's covered by insurance. Their shit sucks. Like actually doing the spectral cell micronutrient panel test you for every single vitamin and nutrient. Just fixing nutrient vitamin deficiencies can go a long way, making you feel better. Fixing any hormone imbalances, fixing heavy metals, fixing all that shit, right, can make a really big difference. I think everyone should see a functional medicine doctor, even if they feel well, just to do a full workup and just kind of see where they're at. Also, just as a good way, preventive way, like you can prevent a lot of problems in the future just from like staying on top of that shit. So there's really no downside doing this. So I would say that's step one. Step two would be reading the book The Rise of Superman and trying to experience a flow state to give yourself some separation from your issues. Step number three would be going to the gym and committing to putting on muscle, specifically weight training. But if there's some kind of other fitness that you prefer doing, that's fine too. For me, it's always been weight training though that appealed to me the most. Number four would be doing a little bit of cold approach. Number five would be separating yourself from that negative community that you're involved in, as painful as it may be. Am I missing anything? I think there's a few other things I'm just forgetting.
Good male role models would be my like broader societal one. If you're a guy who thinks you're a good male role model, and you have like really good relationship with women, and you have platonic relationships that are healthy with women, especially, those are like the best men that I think, like, unironically, I think the best thing so many men could do, as long as they know that they're not a creep, is like do mentorship stuff. Like, holy shit, as somebody who like works with adolescents, there are so few men, and the men who do work in this space are lovely, but they tend to also be like a little bit more feminine in nature. And so it's like, it's really hard to find like really rough and tumble guys who will like be bro-y with like young guys and just like go play sports and like do silly shit like that. It's so frustrating. Like, I'm so lucky I have Nick because he loves working with teens too. So any treatment center I have, I've got like at least one really good male role model. But unironically, I think like if you're a guy who thinks that there's like a massive problem, I wouldn't recommend Blackpill guys to go do this, because you're going to make the world worse with your bad ideology. But if you're like a red pill guy and you just like want to improve the world, go volunteer with teens. First of all, it's going to be super fun. You get access to a bunch of free shit, and there's tons and tons of cute girls who will think you're a good person.
I don't know if like black pill guys will make there's all kinds of different kinds of black pill guys. Like some of them are really like pretty decent human beings who just are convinced that it's just looks. But other than that, they're like very normal people.
I still want them convincing teens that it's just looks with women.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I don't think you should be like teaching like fucking black pill theories to kids. I will agree with you on that. Yeah. Who do you think are like the top, like, I don't know, who do you think is the best male role model, top three in your opinion? And I'll give mine afterwards.
Maybe like Matt Damon. There's really not a lot.
Matt Damon, he's just an actor. No, I would say Arnold Schwarzenegger. Have you read his book Total Recall?
No, I just didn't love his politics in California. So
yeah, but that's besides the point. He has in his book, he talks about all the mindsets that's made him successful. If you think about it, it's not super impressive to be successful in one area, like being a famous actor or being a famous bodybuilder, but it is really rare to be successful in three different fields: bodybuilding, acting, actually number 4 business, and number 3 business, number 4 politics, right? That's so true. That's like very, very, very rare, very rare. So he talks about the mindsets that made him successful. And it's all like spot on shit. Like everything he says when it comes to mindsets is like, and his attitude is just so positive and so like motivational. Yeah, for sure. I think he's a great role model.
That's a good one. Probably then like The Rock. I think The Rock's pretty. Everything I
Yeah.
see from him is pretty solid.
Yeah.
For the most part, and he's quite masculine. Because what I'm looking for is a blend of still quite masculine. So like guys will find them as a good role model. The issue with Arnold is he's so damn old that I'm not gonna go to like a 15-year-old be like Arnold. They're gonna be like, why would I be like this old dude, like this crusty old dude, right? So it's really hard to think of like guys that 15-year-olds will think is cool as a role model. That's like the complicated thing.
Yeah, I think The Rock is a pretty good one from what I've seen of him. I haven't read his book, but I heard about him. Oh, someone said Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is a very interesting character too.
He's my
although
go-to as well. Matt Damon and Keanu Reeves, but yeah.
I don't know too much about like his. I know he's like very humble. What's his name? Keanu Reeves, but I don't know much else about him. Someone said Kyle Kalinske. I actually kind of like this guy. I don't know if he would be like a role model of mine, but I do like his takes.
Kyle, I know this name
He's
and I cannot.
the secular atheist or something like that. I forget the name of his channel. Oh, actually, yes, this guy, Jocko Willing. 100%. His book.
Oh, Kyle Kalinske. Okay.
Yeah.
Eh.
You don't like him?
So it's not about liking. It's about, will 15-year-olds find this guy to be an inspiring masculine role model? Kyle Kalinske, no.
Yeah, no. But Jocko Willing, definitely. This guy's book, Extreme Ownership, was fucking awesome.
This guy with the face that just like screams, like if testosterone had a face, it would be this man.
It would be this guy, yeah. Yeah, he's just a testosterone factory, basically.
I've never done anything but eat raw liver and meat. It's just like, okay, we get it, dude.
But this guy has like the best fucking mindset ever. He's all about like way too extreme for my take. Like he's like waking up at 4 a.m. I'm like, homie, I'm going to bed at 4 a.m. Like when you wake up, I'm going to bed. So he's like,
yeah, he's like the Goggins Navy SEAL type. And I think that that's really cool for some guys. What I really would love to find though is like a good male role model who isn't the Marine type, because I think Marines have a lot to offer, but there's a lot of like cons as well. Like I do think, for example, Goggins, and I don't know about Walensky, so I won't speak for him, but like David Goggins, I think he's really great in a lot of ways, but there's some stuff that I think mostly that people don't realize that David Goggins talks about, which is the last chapter in his book, which is basically about emotional vulnerability. And I actually think men need to figure out how to do like emotionality in a masculine way that they're comfortable with. And I see like a lot of these like super hyped up on testosterone guys, they're really respectable. They're very successful. But like David Goggins isn't exactly known as like a really good father. He's not exactly known as like a really good like husband, for example. In fact, he almost always sacrificed his family for his like kind of success, physical pursuits. And so that's why I love David Goggins, because the last chapter of his book is about basically realizing that like he's done literally everything he could possibly ever want to do, and yet he's never found contentment. And I think that that's a really important thing. But the point of the David Goggins book isn't to be like David Goggins. David Goggins' book is almost a warning of like, don't be like David Goggins. Like you can pursue success beyond everything else and wake up at 55 and still be discontent.
Yeah, well, that's why I think I read his book too, and I found it very interesting. I mean, David Goggins comes from an extremely abusive, type of environment. Like his dad was like a pimp and shit. Crazy fucking stories, by the way. If you guys want to hear some crazy fucking stories, read David Goggins' book. But that's why I think Jocko Willing is like a lot more centered in terms of his shit. Like he is a family man, and he writes kids books now, right? Because he wants to see he's like
That's
this
cute.
Navy SEAL tough guy who's like writing children's books because he feels like there's no good children's books out there that are motivational, he's like doing all this shit like that. So I find him pretty interesting. This one you and I might disagree on, but I think Joe Rogan is actually pretty based.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if 15-year-olds would like him. I love Joe Rogan, but
okay.
Yeah, like I don't agree with all of his takes, but like I hate this idea that like because like he has like two takes that people disagree with, he's just a garbage piece of garbage human. It's like, okay, this man has been successfully interviewing people from every walk of life for years. There's no way that he's just a garbage human. Like, there's just no way.
He seems like a super duper nice guy. Someone
Smart
said
too.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Not so much.
Not ideal. Everyone's putting in their suggestions. Let's see if we have any other good ones in here. We have a bunch of troll answers.
Yeah.
Jocko's the shit. And this
Hugh
one,
Jackman.
this one you and I would disagree on. Andrew Tate.
Yeah, I don't think he's a super good role model. Well, I think he's better than a lot of people say he is. So a lot of people, when they talk about Andrew Tate, they think he is literally the worst. He's also been grifting with this whole Saudi prince oil money, and now he's like a Muslim or whatever.
Wait, what's the story with the Saudi prince? I've never heard that.
I don't know. He's been doing prayers and stuff like that. He's like, and he's talking about how like women are unironically like your property. Like you really doubled down on that one, and he's been spending a lot of time in like Dubai and stuff and doing the prayers. So.
But you think there's like he's like funded by Saudi princes? Like, is there any evidence for that, or he's just like having fun in Dubai?
I just think it's interesting how he's you know, when Bitcoin crashed, he became the most famous, invested in this MLM, and now all of a sudden, you know, he's hanging out with a lot of Saudi princes. But I'm sure it's just to have fun.
No comment. I don't know.
He's just doing their prayers for funsies.
Andrew Yang. I mean, I don't think I'm an Andrew Yang fan, but I don't think like kids will like, you know, be excited about. Oh my God, UBI, yeah. Like I don't think there's something that's gonna excite 14-year-olds. But I do like Andrew Yang as like a politician.
Yeah.
All right, you down to open up the panel?
Oh, we're opening up the panel. Sure.
We can keep talking about the insult thing if you have any more thoughts about this.
No, I just didn't know we were doing open panel, so I haven't shared the link with my people.
Oh, let me. You want me to text it to you, or you got it already?
No, I still got it.
All right, cool. Let me drop it. Someone said Donald Trump. I actually think Donald Trump would be like the worst role model ever because he's so narcissistic and so selfish. And I'm not like some Donald Trump hate person. I try to take a neutral view, like where I think there's some good things about Donald and a lot of bad things. So I'm not like some like, oh, Trump is a racist type of people, but he is without a doubt so narcissistic and so selfish. Like that's just not something I would want to encourage. That's funny. Alex is a right-wing shrill. That's interesting because usually people say I'm a left-wing shrill.
Nice. You're getting an eclectic crew.
All right. Mark Wahlberg. Mark is an interesting character. I don't know too much about. I've never read like any books about him. I know
They're just all old. They just don't work for young men. Like 15-year-olds don't give a fuck about Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
They're just too old, unfortunately.
Okay, we got a whole bunch of people. All right, let's add Q2. Yeah, what up?
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh, this is the back shots guy.
Yep.
What? Oh my gosh. Well, that you killed that joke now, so hope not to be the back.
Did we kill the
anymore.
joke?
But I think no, Alex did. He just keeps on saying it, the back shots guy. But I think Erudite, when you say it's like it's usually like a funny spin to it. But anyways, I think the issue with like the incel thing is like I think, and this is kind of sucks because it's a public thing, but like there is a point where you can't help them outside of recommending psychiatric help, and I think it is worth it to maybe obviously change the public phrasing of it, but always remember that sometimes you just can't help certain people, and they're beyond just going out there and pushing them to talk to somebody, you know.
Well, I think you can help. I think you can help pretty much anyone that wants to be helped, but I don't think you can help anyone who doesn't want to be helped. So I think a person has to want to improve, and if they don't, you can't force it on them. This is like something I learned in my early 20s, actually, because I had some friends who were like, you know, like not doing much with their life, and I was like, you know, doing some interesting stuff. So I was like, yo, guys, like. Like, yo, check this shit out. There's this thing called pickup. You can get better with girls. We don't have to fucking sit around and smoke weed all day. Like, there's like, you know, we can smoke weed after we pick up the girls. Like, you know, let's think of some good ideas. But like, yeah, if they didn't want help, like it never worked. Never ever. But the people who do want help, I think they can largely be helped.
I completely disagree, but that's because I think, and this is where I do want to push back a lot, but I don't have too much time for it, but I think that you should, for certain people, in terms of fixing their psychology, you definitely need a degree for it. You can't just say, "Well, I'm a coach with no license, and I'm able to help everybody." I don't think that's really true. I think
Well,
there's a lot of people that
no
you
one's-
would not be
one's
able to help.
saying that, though. No one's saying that though. I never said that.
No, I thought you were saying that since you could help almost everybody, but you have no license to help almost everybody. I'm saying there are
No,
people that you can't help.
no, I'm not talking about myself personally. I'm saying they
Oh,
could
okay.
help. Yeah, I'm not talking about me. I don't have, first of all, I wouldn't even be. I'm one person. I can't help like fucking 5 million people. No, I'm talking about that. I was just making an observation that I think in general the people who want to get help can largely be helped. I'm not saying it's going to be by me. I'm saying by someone, whoever the fuck they work with, if it's with the right person. But I'm also saying that I think it less has to do with how far gone the person is and more has to do with whether they actually want to get better or not.
Okay, I could agree with that. Yeah, I'll be quiet for a little bit. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, I would say as a pickup coach, that's probably true. At a psychological level, there's pretty good evidence that even if people don't want to get better, they do if you like to some extent like put interventions in their life that will improve their life. This is like basically most forced rehab ever, but it works actually quite well. Drug court ordered rehab is decently effective, and so, but I know that you're not talking about like psychiatric care. I know you're talking about like generally as a person interpersonally across the board, you can't help people who don't want to be helped, and then
Yeah,
professionals' job is to help people who don't want to be helped and create the situations that will help them anyways.
yeah, I'm talking about like incels specifically, but in terms of drugs, yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the studies, but I would still argue that the people who actually want to get off drugs probably do a lot better than people who are forced into rehab.
All right.
That'll be
Then
much
last thing with the incels thing, I also, and this is sounds nihilistic, but it's not. But I think that most incels should give up on sex because you get some type of relief when that happens, and you stop worrying about it so much. Now it's gonna be tough if you have like a high sex drive, but in general, if you're able to just say, you know what, maybe sex is not meant for me, it can be freeing in a way. And I'm probably phrasing it wrong, but I think
Well,
that's better than saying, well, no, you can get it, but you just have to really try hard. Sometimes it's better to say, I'll give up. Yeah, you go.
I think you're not understanding what an incel is. Incels are people who have given up on sex. You're thinking of just someone who's like a virgin who's like in the pickup community who's trying to get better or something like that in the regular community. Incels have given up on sex. They're like, yeah, I'm never getting laid.
Oh, well, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that then. I think it's like, okay, I'm never getting laid. But if you use that to go like, okay, so I'm gonna do other hobbies, I'm gonna do other things, and I don't see really an issue with that.
Well, because
especially if you get out more.
They're committing suicide like insane rates. That's the issue. They're like
that
deeply
unhappy. Yeah, but no, that's the people that are committing suicide probably aren't doing other things besides, or aren't doing other things pretty much.
Well, I think human sexuality though is an essential part of the human experience. And like you can't, it's like giving up on food. Like you're gonna get fucking hungry. I mean, it's not as black and white as food, but I would argue that unless you become like a Buddhist monk, you can't really live your life without some kind of intimacy. It doesn't have to be like slaying pussy, but I think intimacy is a human need. We're social creatures. We're wired to be social. So you can't live without that kind of element.
Well, with the Buddhist monk thing, you already gave an example of people that can't train themselves to not desire sex in that way. But the way that you talk about, well, we just need sex, it sounds like you're talking about a high sex drive person in general.
No, I'm not. I am fairly low to moderate sex drive. Like my sex drive is objectively like not that high. Like I'm happy having sex like 2 or 3 times a week, right? And
that's high sex drive. Sorry, that's high sex drive, kind of.
No, high sex drive is like 3 times a day.
No, I'm saying there are people that like want it like once a month, twice a month, maybe. I'm saying that's
like extremely, extremely low sex drive. Like most males in their 20s and 30s, they usually like want to fuck like every day if they could, at least.
I don't think so. I think that's like it'd be nice if they. It's like a more like, okay, we're talking. Well, I can't get too much.
Okay. Anyway, let's just grab your premise. Yeah, I think it has less to do with your sex drive and more to do with the human need for intimacy.
Okay, that can be fixed without sex.
How?
You just hug your friends. You go get around people. You hug your friends. You're more physically affectionate with them.
Q2, how do you, okay, I don't know what kind of friends you have, but I'm just trying to imagine if I go up to my friends and I'm like, hey man, I'm feeling a little lonely. Let me just give you a really long hug. I don't think I'm going to have friends for long.
Well, that's the issue, is the culture around it. Because you should change the culture around that and be allowed to be physically intimate with your male friends
Based.
and sometimes female friends.
Based. Do it like the Greeks do.
Definitely not based. No, I don't think the solution to this problem is for dudes to be like fucking touching each other. I mean, if you're gay, that's cool. If you're into that.
Wow.
If
So
you're straight,
why do you compare it to homosexuality? That's not fair. You just said because I want to hug my friend that's gay. That's a part of the problem.
no, I'm saying that if you are gay, then that seems like totally okay because that's what you like. But if you're a straight guy, I don't think the solution is for you to like fucking use your friends as an output for your intimacy. Because first of all, you'll never be able to have that level of intimacy that you could have with a female partner with another straight man. That's just not possible. Like,
Okay, so we're talking about female friends now. That's
But
what
could-
well, now we have a solution.
even again, like me, like okay, how do me and my girlfriend have intimacy? We lay in bed, we cuddle each other, right? That's not something you're gonna do with like a female friend, right?
I think you can have this. I mean, the stories of like Gilgamesh highlight that like back in the day when women were unironically just property, most men got their intimacy from other men. They weren't necessarily having sex with them. They were often just spending all day and night with them. They were fighting about ideas. They were wrestling. They were able to touch each other, and they would wrestle naked, and it wasn't even necessarily like sexual or like erotic. They weren't always fucking each other in their buttholes, and they often went home and had sex with their wife, but the like person who they loved and they would die for, like this is the story of Gilgamesh and his friend. Like Gilgamesh's number one person wasn't the like virgin woman that he found in the field. It was his best friend that he like unironically went through like heaven and hell to try to save his community, in part because the person he loved most, his guy friend, was there. But it's not gay. That's just like their culture had decided that basically women were garbage. So you couldn't have intimacy or be close friends with women because they were like other species. And so the only way you could have intimacy was with other men.
Yeah, I think like the fastest way to lose your male friends is to go up and start like hugging them and trying to wrestle them naked. I think that's
We
a great
agree.
way. I think that's
agree.
a great way
Yeah,
to wind
that's
up
not
with
the
no
thing.
male friends in your
Like
life.
Q2 is saying that's the problem, right? That's a really big problem. I agree that incels want to have sex with women and they want to find a partner as well. But all of history, there's always been a pretty large body of men that did not go on to pass their genes, that did not have sex, that did not have partners. And you can't possibly tell me that they just spent their whole lives like miserable. I don't know if I believe it, because I think in the past we had a better system at creating masculine community where you could find intimacy and belonging and meaning with other men or with other women. I mean, women actually achieve this level of intimacy with each other all the time, right? Before I met Nick, my two best friends, I called them every single day. And I didn't have sex with my best friends. We weren't sexually romantic, but as far as like my intimate needs, I had them met. They were met by my female friends.
Well, Kyler, you have to acknowledge it's different for girls with other girls than men with other
Doesn't
men.
have to be.
Yes, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't need to look the same, but men can achieve emotional intimacy with other men. It's just not going to look the way it does with women. And that's fine.
But I just think a better solution is just to like actually like meet girls and like have that intimacy with a girl instead of like trying to get like a half-hearted attempt at intimacy with another dude in a world that we don't even live in anymore. Like I just think it's so much more practical just to like improve your social skills and like actually achieve that with a girl who likes you, who you can have sex with, who you can
but it's
be intimate with.
it's kind of a failing of men to basically be like, yeah, we just can't solve this like emotional stuff. So I'll just wait till I can find a girlfriend to find my emotional needs being met. It's just like, bro, like that's dysfunction at its finest. If you can't find like meaning and intimacy with your like guy friends, I'm not talking about sex, right? Sexual intimacy is something that obviously you're only going to find with women if you're a straight dude. However, most of your social needs can be met by friends. Like that's just a reality. That's what most bachelor humans did their entire lives.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You should have a good group of guy friends that you know you're close with and you can talk about shit with. Sure, I just don't think it's the same as like pair bonding with a woman. Like it's just I have really really close friends that I can talk about anything with. People I've known for like 15, 20 years, right? Like, but it's just not the same as like having a girl who I'm in a relationship with, where there's pair bonding and like you know, like romance and love and like all that you know corny shit. So I don't know. I feel like that's just like a really, really half-hearted attempt at a solution. Like I don't know.
I think finding women is the half-hearted attempt. I think it's the most functional. I think it's the most decent general advice, and it's the advice I give most men. But I think it's a problem. I think it's a failing of society and men. I think it's a failing of men.
Oh man, we got a lot of people backstage. I think a lot of people have thoughts about this.
Gotcha.
Oh no, Q2, what have you done? Now you're gonna abandon me to fight this champion by myself.
No, you got it. You got it. One last thing, I'll say that the other final solution is you get all these incels, you bring them together, and you make them do activities together. You make them become friends with each other. So even if they can't get women, they can at least have friends, and that's a start. That's better than just being online talking crap about women and all that stuff. You just get them in person. I think that's a better first step and like really easy to accomplish. So yeah, get them, Kyla.
But how are we going to do that? We're going to have like some like government agency that's like in charge of rounding up the incels and putting them like together for playtime. Like, how would that be? I'm just curious how I kind of agree that might be a good idea. I just don't know how that would be executed. Like, we have like the U.S. government has the branch of incels where it's like, all right, we got Johnny from 45 Cottage Street. We got Max from 35, April Street. We're going to combine them on the playground. 2 hours, no cell phones. Let these incels just have playtime. Like, how would that play out? But yeah. But I agree. People should have like in-person friends for sure. All right, we got the Knight and the Bishop channel. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, dude? How do you feel about wrestling naked with men?
No, that's not my thing. Can't say that it is.
How come?
Well, we better not get too much into that topic. We all know how that works on YouTube. You can't mention any of that stuff.
Wait, I'm assuming you think it's gay?
I have nothing to say on that topic, but
but do you think the Greeks were gay?
I have no idea. I'm not too much into old school history.
Well, what do you think about the Greeks, like the Spartans?
I mean, I think it was
kind of badass. Yeah, they were pretty badass dudes. How do you feel about the fact that they also wrestled their friends gay? They also wrestled their friends naked.
I think they were kind of gay. I'm not gonna lie.
The Spartans?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but you would also have to admit that a Spartan could fucking take you and snap you over his knee.
Sure, you can be gay and be badass. Like, there's like, yeah, there's just because you're gay doesn't mean you're like a wimp or something like that.
But doesn't it suggest then that if they were both that masculine and gay, then maybe men should just be a little bit more gay?
I mean, if you want to be more gay, that's up to them. I don't know. That's not something.
I mean, that's how you unified the brotherhood. Like, the brotherhood was the most important thing to the Spartan success, is that they really saw that if the brother beside them died, it was like losing like the most important thing in your life. Like, there was that love, like a deep, deep love.
Yeah, not my cup of tea personally, like fucking having sex with 12-year-old boys. I don't know. It's not something that ever appealed to me.
No, most of the Greeks didn't do that. There was a sect that did that, but by no means was that all.
I thought that was like super duper common in the Greek society.
No, there was definitely like a worship temple that did it, where they would like have sex with little boys. It was.
Is this what you're advocating? God damn it, this is not very.
No, I'm advocating for men to realize that just like touching each other isn't gay. In fact, it's kind of cowardly to like be like, oh, I can't touch a guy, and it's just like, why? It's not scary.
Well, I mean, like, if you're straight, like, I don't see why you would want to do that. Like, I don't think there's like anything scary about it. It's just like, it's like, I would describe it as like eating shit. Like, I'm not scared to do it. It just seems disgusting to me. That's how I feel about like touching other men. I'm not scared.
You want women to eat your shit instead?
I don't want anyone to eat my shit.
Well, then you're wanting women to touch you.
Well, yeah, because that appeals to me. So to me, women touching me is like me eating a nice dessert. It looks good to me. It's like a fucking nice pie of pizza versus a pie of shit. Do you see? It has to do with disgust and like lust or something that appeals to me, right?
I guess it makes me sad to know that unless you're sexually attracted to another body, then you just don't even want to touch it.
No, I mean, like, well, it's not that extreme. Like, I'm fully comfortable giving like my friends a hug. I mean, typically I do that when I see friends I haven't seen for a while. I give them a hug, right? But like, yeah, like I'm just like, to me, anything past that, it's not like I'm scared of it or it's not like I'm worried. It's just like very unappealing to me, right? That's
what
just
about
like,
a couple of guys like sitting on the couch, their arms are kind of over each other, and they're like talking about sports?
I mean, you're talking to the one guy who's like not into sports at all. So
or some other masculine topic.
Like talking
pussy.
About like
girls.
Yeah, talking about pussy. Okay, there we go. Yeah, sure. I guess that's fine.
All right.
Yeah, but nothing past the arms. I think that's when it gets weird. All right. Anyway, Knight Bishop, look what you started. So what do you want to discuss?
Yeah, there's obviously you've become popular because of the speed dates. My thing is I've been on this app because I have some friends over there. I don't participate too much on the dating aspect of it, but I'm sure you're familiar with the POF Meet Me app, right? The dating app.
Plenty of fish.
Right, right.
Yeah, I think it kind of sucks, but
Well,
yeah.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. So there's a live section of the app where basically there's a date box. There's a red date box where you go in there for like a minute or whatever. You can sit there and basically go through these speed dates. So I think it's a good way to pretty much do the same thing you do and become, a little bit more immune to rejection and going through the motions. And you can sit there. Basically, if you get a like on the bottom of the corner of the date, you can pop back in there, right? And then there's a guest box and some other stuff. And the only problem with that is that there's a bunch of coins and some other stuff. So if guys go over there and simp, kind of defeats the purpose
Well,
of doing
bro,
it.
I mean, this all sounds well and good, but don't say that on my channel because otherwise you're gonna get people to stop showing up to the speed. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think the one downside with that though is you don't get feedback, right? So I think the key part of this is if you do the speed date on my channel, you get feedback from me and the girls.
Right, right. Yeah, and the other thing I was talking about, I was thinking, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this. It's a complicated thing because a lot of guys look up to Andrew Tate and some other guys, but I think a lot of guys they might be better off deleting IG and TikTok because the women constantly looking for free attention on there. Like Alan Roger Curry has talked about. Shout out to him. So what do you think about deleting those apps altogether? Those two in particular.
Well, I disagree with the premise that like all women are looking for free attention. I think
Right.
there's definitely some women who are looking for attention, sure. And to be honest, it's not just women. We all are kind of like as a content creator. I'm not gonna like posture and say that I'm immune to that. Like I like validation. I like it when like some post of mine gets a lot of likes. I like it when a video of mine gets a lot of views, right? That's not significantly different than the girl who really enjoys it when her post gets a lot of stuff, right? So I think like that's like fairly normal behavior. The question is to which extent does it go? But yeah, I think that I think deleting TikTok, great idea, because I think TikTok is a piece of shit platform. I hate TikTok personally. I just use it to post content or consume content there. Deleting Instagram, I don't know. You can make an argument for why it's a good idea, but the problem is that like nowadays it's kind of like your social resume. So it's like, if you're like getting into dating, you're meeting girls, a lot of them are going to want to see your Instagram. And if you don't have an Instagram, a lot of them are going to think that like you're a serial killer or something. So I don't think I would recommend deleting an Instagram. I would just recommend like using like a program to maybe minimize your use. Like don't allow yourself more than like 10 minutes on Instagram. They have programs that do that now. It's so easy nowadays. You can install like programs that like supervise you when you spend more than 10 minutes on Instagram and kicks you off and locks you out. So I would say that like if you're really too attracted to Instagram, then just like having some kind of accountability. But I wouldn't go as far as deleting it. But deleting TikTok, yeah, good idea.
Well, I guess I got a couple more things. In terms of, I think when I was a lot younger in my early 20s, I think it was difficult at first to really be able to read women's body language. What do you think about some of these guys reading some body language books and maybe even take it to the point where they get a consultation with a body language expert to really start developing their social skills and being able to read women well?
Sure, I think that's a fine idea. Yeah. I don't think body language is too complex. I could probably explain it in like one video. And I have videos where I explain it, but if they want to go further on that, then yeah, they can do that. But I don't think it requires a whole book. I think a 10-minute video could explain body language pretty well. But yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
And I guess another thing I was going to say, see, I in general like reading books. I read politics and I read biographies. I think what I found over time is if you're well read, you can get yourself out of some different situations, when you're on dates or when you're approaching women, and you can sit there and carry the conversation a little bit better if you're well read, because I think some guys, maybe they don't read enough.
I think reading is great. I love reading. I don't think reading is going to make you better at talking to girls. I think it's a completely different part of your brain. So I think the best way to get better at talking to girls is to talk to girls. I don't think reading is going to make you a better conversationalist, honestly. But I think you should read for other reasons, though.
I got one that's kind of out there. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the website Return to Kings from back in the days.
Yeah.
I mean, what I would say is, how a lot of guys, they go down a certain rabbit hole of a subsector of the manosphere, Blackpill, Red Pill, MGTOW, and all that. I mean, my thing is, if I was certain guys, I would jump around a bunch of different forums and be kind of comparing and contrasting. And then the other thing I would do is I would compare the information they keep hearing now to something like the articles that were Return to Kings, which is now defunct. So I guess what I'm saying is over time, the manosphere, the theories and the knowledge or the philosophies have changed over time. And what I would tell the guys out there, that everything they hear in certain subsectors of the manosphere isn't correct. Because I think some guys, they fall into the rabbit hole of everything the black pill says is true and everything about the red pill is true. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you should definitely be open to other ideas for sure. I mean, I truly believe this sounds like very cocky, but between my channel and Austin Summers' channel, you have like pretty much everything you need. I don't really think you have to go that much further, but yeah, I think you should read a variety of sources and yeah, don't pigeonhole yourself in one community. I agree.
I got one more thing, and I know this one's a little out there. My thing is, I've never done this. I had a friend in Houston that used to do it 10 years ago. I don't know. To me, it's just a little extreme, but I think some guys out there could use it. What he would do is he would do what I call fake social circle game. So basically what he would do is he would establish all these quote unquote fake friendships, because obviously there's no guy out there, very few men out there or women that have 30, 35 close friends. So all he would do is he would pretty much use guys and girls to meet the women they knew, to develop some, dating, relationships, whatever he wanted to do, something casual. Because I think, I'm sure you would agree with this. When a guy's first starting out, he's going to have a hard time approaching in the daytime. Obviously, nowadays it's not as acceptable to hit on women at work. And then at the gym, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that as a 22-year-old, 21-year-old, because, the women are half naked, that type of stuff. And, Darius M.
That's the best time when they're half naked, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Later on. But the thing, go ahead.
Let me just answer the question. I personally wouldn't do that. I think that's kind of weird to have a bunch of fake friendships and shit.
Yeah.
I prefer having like real friends.
Yeah.
So I personally, that's something that would never appeal to me at all. Is just like having a bunch of like quasi friendships for the sake of like meeting girls as a result of that. I don't know. That to me just seems kind of sad.
Yeah, it's real out there. It's not something I've ever done, but I think over time it's become more difficult to meet women, because like Darius M, and he's done a bunch of videos on this. There's a bunch of women that are recording dudes at the gym, hitting on them and trying to make it viral.
Dude, Darius M though literally. Do you know this guy Kyla Darius M? Have you heard of him?
Nope.
Okay, so his whole thing, I've had him on for a channel. Nice guy, but he literally just picks the most outrageous fucking like chicks on TikTok, like the girls we're talking about earlier, the crazy, obnoxious feminists, and he just makes it seem like that's all girls, and that's like every single one of his videos is just like crazy ratchet chick calls police on guy for saying hi, and then like if you just watch his channel, you would just think that that's like every girl, which is like so not the case. It's like such a small percentage of girls. So I'm not fond of like the message that guy puts out, in all honesty.
Yeah, he's taking it too far. Over time, he's kind of gone too far on that. You know how it goes. A lot of people have started using a lot of the clips from TikTok to do videos from it.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming on, bro. Appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Take care, buddy. All right, Kyle, let's get one of your people on next so we can kind of switch it up. Do you see anyone backstage that you recognize?
I still can't see backstage. I don't think I have the perms, so I can tell by comments.
Let me. I'll just read you. We got Senor Sinsardisa 77, Vikram from Vic's Life. I know him. He, that Nibba, Brad, Joe B Tube, Nate GS, Alex Fields. Any of that rings a bell?
No, it doesn't.
Yo, guys, send me a private chat. If you're coming from Kyle's channel, so we can like go like alternate one or the other. We'll have to fix that for next time so you can see people backstage. I think I just have to update your permission. What about this guy, Andre Magyar? Does that ring a bell at all?
No, but I've had a really big influx of a lot of new viewers, so I don't know if I'm super familiar in everyone's name yet.
Nice. Do you feel like some of my audience has gravitated to your channel?
Yeah, and then I've gotten a lot from Destiny and a ton from Sneeko as well. That seemed to be the biggest spaces where they infused from. Apparently, Aaron E is here from me.
Oh, okay, let's get him on.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, sorry, bro. I'll get you on right afterwards. My bad. Yeah, what's up?
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, hello.
Hi. I just wanted to talk about. I just wanted to like clarify anything before I have any statements. Like, I want to know what exactly is like this incel narrative that goes around, and I feel like it's mostly done on the internet. Could you guys like clarify that for me? Because like, I feel like when people describe incels, it's kind of just like these like disgusting, weird creatures that just somehow just want to just kill and just hate women for no type of reason. Could you guys like clarify that?
Sure. So I'm an incel, so I can explain. So no, I mean I think incels are people who've given up on. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong about some of this, but I think incels are guys who've given up on mating or meeting girls because they feel like they're too ugly, or the dating marketplace stacked too against them. So they're involuntary celibate. So they're celibate, but not by choice, right? Because they're celibate because no woman wants them, basically.
And that's particularly because of the dating market that's, I guess, present within today specifically. Is it, shouldn't there be like more of an emphasis on like where did these guys come from, like from a demographic perspective, like per se? Like I
No,
feel like
I think they're largely focused. I think they largely think it's their looks that's the issue. So I think it's pretty. The incel community is actually pretty open to all races, and like I think they're actually like pretty diverse in terms of that. Like I think you can be a black incel, a white incel, an Asian incel, an Indian incel. So yeah, I don't think it's just like in any way
do you
limited
think
to any demographic. Yeah, go ahead.
do you think like the solution to that would be better role models per se? Because I feel like in my mind, someone like, I guess, the in the word I'm sorry, I'm like stuttering right now, my bad.
You're
But
good.
I feel like sometimes like when people talk about incels, like how I mentioned earlier, like like these guys are like misogynistic or they do these things. I'm thinking like half of the time maybe they just need like legitimate good role models to actually like, help them navigate, the world around females and things of that nature.
Yeah, well, Kyle and I were actually discussing just that earlier. We are talking about that as one of the solutions. I don't think that's the only solution, but I think that's definitely a big part of it is having a good male role model for sure.
But I'm gonna play a little bit devil's advocate here because I do think there's a little bit of like tiny bit of like determinism here because I feel like let's say like you're like I want to say like a neurodivergent individual, right? And I may be like trying to like I may be explaining this wrong, but let's say like you're trying to like
Wait,
I guess
I'm a neurodivergent individual.
are you? I mean I'm putting out like a hypothetical or
Oh,
like
okay, okay. I was
whatever.
just
Yeah,
confused.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Mhm.
So it's like you're like a neurodivergent individual and you're trying to connect with like the opposite sex and you're just not doing it as as well as relative to like the I guess the average male person. i feel
Mhm.
like I feel like most of those people are like I want to say more likely to get into that incel type of community. So I'm thinking like it isn't really like their fault per se. Like the reason why they kind of like it because like you mentioned before, it's kind of like dating market or you know their looks aren't up to par, or there's just something inherently wrong about them that, well, in their
Society
eyes.
doesn't care about autistic men. Let's just say it like from our chest. Society doesn't care about men. And we have no compassion for men. And we especially have no compassion for autistic men. Like none. We're just like, you're a weird fucking we hate you. That's how we treat autistic men for the most part.
Yeah, I also think like fault is the wrong word. Like I think it makes no difference whose fault it is. I think you want to take responsibility for everything that's within your power, and that comes from Jocko Willing's extreme ownership. He talks about taking extreme responsibility, and I think that's just a really good mindset to have. Is just to not worry about, oh, is it my fault? Is it your fault? Okay, what is everything that I can take responsibility for? Because there are a lot of things that are within your control. For
Like how
sure.
Kyla was mentioning earlier, like if someone rejects you and then you kind of like, let me break this down real quick. What did I say? What did I do? What could have she possibly thought that elicited this type of response? And then you do something, you try it again, but with someone else, and you try like you keep on trying something else different and different until you hit the result. But what I usually get, what I'm usually finding myself on this problem is like how someone mentioned earlier that like you don't really need to have like like a you don't really need to have sex. I kind of think about it in the same way as like when people be like you don't need to have like like a 9 or an 8 or a 10, you know, beautiful looking girlfriend. And then in my mind, it's just like, huh. But I kind of feel like I want that though. Like, wouldn't it be kind of like not dumb, but like, wouldn't it feel kind of I guess I'm trying to find a word. I'm sorry. I'm like I because I know that having a woman in this day and age kind of elicits some sort of status, right? And I'm thinking that if I not me personally, but if someone did like, you know, get like a 9 or a 10 beautiful woman instead of like going for someone that like, you know, you can tell like they might have feelings for you, but they're not like that attractive, would that be, I guess, disingenuous of the person? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm so confused. What exactly is the question? Can you say it in like a one sentence, like simple manner?
So if I'm going for a baddie, right? If I'm going for a baddie, right? And there's this other chick that does like me, but she's not a baddie. Is it superficial of me knowing that I could like, knowing that I'm like,
Are you asking me, is it wrong to go for a hotter girl where there's a girl who's less attractive who likes you?
yeah, pretty much like that. No, I'm
Um,
not in class. I'm talking right now.
I think it depends on what you want.
What?
I don't know.
Yes.
There's not like a good
Hey, how about the phone? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You okay, dude?
I was talking to my
mom.
mom.
Okay. Hi, Mom.
Oh my God.
So to answer your question, I don't think there's a good answer to that. I think if you want to hold out for the hotter girl, that's your prerogative. If you want to go for the girl that's a little bit less attractive but likes you, that's fine too. You know, maybe you could try to get them both together and have a threesome. I don't know. I think that just really depends on like what you kind of want and what you value. Some people value looks above everything else. Some people are like, yeah, looks, but I also want a girl who, you know, meets all my emotional needs, right? So then at that point, you might pass up a girl who's a point or two higher for a girl who you think has better values.
So then I guess that elicits to me that like this self-improvement idea that like, you know, like you should like put your head down a little bit and, you know, try to improve yourself in any way possible, like whether it be like physical, like going to the gym, even though it could also be mental as well, or like, you know, trying to work on your craft, like in academics, things of that nature, right? But then on the other hand, we also have the argument that like, hey, but like, no, you shouldn't do this, you know, you should be connecting with other people. And it's just like, isn't that just me being complacent, you know? Like, I know I sound like Sneeko right now, but isn't it kind of like being complacent a little bit?
I don't see those two things as mutually exclusive. You can work on yourself, and well, I don't think like education is going to make you more attractive to women. I think education is great, but not as a tool for being attractive to women. But the other things like going to the gym and whatnot, or your career or something like that, yeah, I think you can do all that while at the same time meeting women. I always like find it bizarre when people make it seem like it's like one or the other. It's like Arnold Chess. You have 24 hours in the day, man. Don't be lazy. So yeah, I think you could do both of those things.
Hi, Mom.
Can we get Mom on the stream?
No, she's not on the stream. I mean, my sister's right here though. Hi, Stace. Oh, my fault.
Oh no.
No,
Was she
but
naked?
I gotta. No, she was. No. It's fine. It's fine. Move. It's fine, bro. I'm trying to talk. We're having a very serious conversation right now. All right. Move! I'm on the camera. Move!
Kyle, you have a very interesting audience.
Move! We're talking about niggas right now. Move!
I'm gonna get a bottle of water while this gets figured out.
Move! I'm sorry, Erudite. I'm sorry.
That's you don't have to vote. I'm having what? Say hi to your sister for me. Hi.
Erudite says hi. Okay.
Hi. What's the conversation about? I'm intrigued.
I'm done. Oh my God.
It's about dating. It's about dating.
We're talking about
pills.
dating. We're talking about dating and Red Pill.
Yes, I can talk about this.
No, you can't. You're about to say niggas ain't shit. We're not talking about that.
I got a different thing.
No, well, I have actually something to say. Okay. I wanted to refer back to what you was mentioning about like the level of intimacy, like it's different from like a girl as opposed to a guy. And I want you.
Let me get a chance to speak. It's crazy.
You just gonna say niggas ain't shit.
Say that. That's what you think, Bob.
All right. Anyways, like I was saying before, right? Right.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it.
I was just trying. I just wanted to like clarify that because I do think that like for me personally, I feel like how would you, I guess, how would you know whether or not you're being intimate with someone other than like having sex? Because sex is a pretty intimate thing. I mean, I'm thinking like, how would you go about recognizing it without that?
Well, why would you do it without that? I mean, I think that like that's a key part of any relationship that you're gonna have with a woman. So, I mean, I think if you're having sex with a girl, you can actually have sex and not be intimate. You can have like very like kind of like non-emotional sex. But I think cuddling is another big one. I think cuddling is a very intimate activity. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things you kind of feel it when it happens. Like you're having sex with a girl, you guys have feelings for each other, you cuddle afterwards. Yeah.
Or are those like typical things that go on with like that particular gender, or we're talking like in general, like with people? Because like when I hear like intimate, I'm thinking like just me talking to you about deep stuff or like my concerns or like how I want to go on about my life or what I'm feeling shitty about, things like that.
I feel like
Is it
there's
like
so many forms of like there's sexual intimacy, which is the main thing that I think a lot of people think about for intimacy. But then there's also things like intellectual intimacy, right? So like some of the people I'm closest to, I'm able to wrestle with really, really, really tricky, spicy, heated topics, and we can get really deep into it and disagree and like talk in depth about this thing, and we have like a shared common language so that we like move. So like this is like me and Nick's like main form of intimacy, actually. Like, yes, we have sex, but I would say like one of the most important things in our relationship is our intellectual intimacy. That like I know, for example, I can come at him with like a take that I could never say publicly, to just be like, what do you think about this? And we can like talk about it openly and like wrestle with it together. And then there's emotional intimacy, which is like meaning that I can come to somebody and be like, look, man, like emotional intimacy isn't being like, I'm sad and my fifis are hurt. Emotional intimacy is like coming to somebody and be like, look, dude, like I fucked up. I fucked up hard. And your friend like looking at you and being like, yeah, you did. And I love you anyways. And like, how do we move forward together through this? Like, how do you take a guilt? Like, that's emotional intimacy. And so I feel like the issue is that we've turned intimacy in just sex, when intimacy is like so much more complex than that.
I can agree with that. I think I agree with that. And one of the last things I have like a notes that I kind of like wrote down here. One of the last things I wanted to mention was like this talk about like physical touch with men and that kind of being a little sus. I feel like you can make the comparisons with the Spartans, like with guys being in the locker room. You can't tell me that's not true. With guys being in the locker rooms, like how in the movies guys would be in the locker rooms, they would be
Football
towel whipping
players
each other,
slapping each other's asses.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I played high school sports. I was in a lot of locker rooms. I think that doesn't really. I've never experienced that. There was no one grabbing each other's ass and shit like that in the locker room I was in. So I don't know. Maybe that happens in other parts of the country, but wasn't.
I mean, I see it a lot in like films or whatnot, so I would assume that like it has to be
but
based off of some like
right,
real
but
life
in
experience.
the film, sometimes there's ghosts and
No,
sometimes
you see it when they play sports. Like if you just watch football, they'll like slap each other's asses all the time. Sometimes they'll just like grab each other's ass and like hold it and squeeze it a little bit. This happens all the time with football players.
I don't know. I've never had
Look
that
up a
experience.
compilation. Look
I've
up
never-
compilation football player slaps ass, and you'll just see like repeated ass slapping.
I'll take your word for it. But yeah, I don't know. Like I played soccer and then I played hockey in high school. Yeah, never had any.
You guys never had like those like goofy moments where you guys made like I guess like like little sus jokes or like jokes that like from
Yeah,
being
jokes,
stupid.
sure, but not like actually like grabbing each other's asses. But yeah, like like of course we make weird jokes and sure. And there was the one kid that's always like, is he actually gay? Because he's kind of like going a little too far with the jokes. Like there was always that kid. His name was Brendan from my high school.
Fan called out. Brendan's watching like, you fucking asshole.
This guy was actually the funniest guy because he was like this secretly gay guy that hated gay people, and we go on this like massive monologues how gay people suck, and we're like, dude, like, why do you care so much? Like, it's just different choice. And then like it later turned out that he was gay, but we like knew all along. So when he told us that he was gay, like none of us were surprised at all. We're like, yeah, dude, we fucking knew the whole time. He's like, what? You knew? Like, yeah, dude. Like, are you kidding me? But yeah, I don't know.
I gotcha. And I keep saying one last thing. Truly the last thing, right? So I know we were talking about like, in America we do create. I know how you mentioned. Erudite mentioned that like, in America we have all these like these things for us right now, and we kind of create our own problems with our mind. So is it kind of like, I guess, did social media make it easier to like expedite to get to that point? Did social media make it easier for that to happen?
To get to what point?
Like, I guess like having like these particularly high standards of like men and women, like how women be
Yeah,
like, I want to have like,
definitely.
I want to have a guy that earns like 6 figures, and guys being like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I understand the question 100%. I think social media significantly expedited that. It was the biggest factor that played a role in that. Yeah. Because we're seeing, like, you go on Instagram and you see people living these apparently perfect lives. In reality, most of them are pretty miserable and are just like posing for photos that aren't really representative of their life with heavy filters and face app. Yeah, so, but you think that's like, oh, this is what like everyone's life is like. So my life should be like that. So yeah, I agree completely.
because I think like back in the day, at least, like I'm using like just from like films like back in the day. I don't know the names, but from what I've watched, at least, there's always like, like the main character, like usually like the main character always getting with like, like the main character is either like very nerdy, and then like somehow some way he's just like has like this nice trait about him, and he just gets noticed by like the attractive girl. And then now I'm looking at real life and I'm just like, just doesn't work like that, huh?
Well, yeah,
But
there's
then
a lot of shit that happens in movies that just doesn't work like that in real life. Yeah, I think that's the problem when you get your information on like game from movies. It's unrealistic.
no, that is true. I don't
Like
know.
in the movies, it's like the nerdy guy who the girl ignores, and then he goes through character arc development where he like fucking discovers a transformer, like a real transformer, not like the John Anthony transformer, and then the girl realizes how awesome he is, and then she falls in love with him, and there's a happily ever after. In reality, like never works that way, but yeah.
Oh, I got you. I mean, I definitely agree, but then wouldn't that give the incentive like for a person in real life to, I guess, like how black pill people mention like looks max, things of that nature.
Well, I think everyone should look smacks.
Well, some people aren't aware of that though. Like until like, especially like teenagers, sometimes they just throw on whatever they need to throw on when they go into like school and whatnot, and then they sometimes they wonder why, like, damn, like I'm not getting anyone, and it's just kind of like how like this fuels like the incel type of stuff to go on, in my mind at least.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think everyone should look smacks. I mean, me and like Kyla talks about look smashing with her booty gains. I'm all about look smashing with my hair protocol, and I just got my periodontal disease fixed, so I have a little bit better teeth. Doing stem cells and doing all this shit, going to the gym, better fashion. But yeah, I don't know. I think everyone should get on the look smashing train.
I got you. Well, that was all I had to ask. I appreciate you guys for letting me be on.
Tell sis we said hi.
Yeah.
That
Please
was
do.
funny, quite funny. All right, bro. Have a good one. Take care, buddy. I like your fans. They're pretty funny. that was a good start. Wait, was his sister naked? Because it looked like she kind of was.
No, I think she was in spandex.
Oh, okay. That would have been like really awkward if he just like revealed his naked sister.
That would be awkward.
We actually have a whole bunch of people from you. We'll just alternate.
Wow.
You have another like 20 minutes or so?
Sure. 20 minutes for sure.
All right, cool. Let's bring on this guy because
what's good, everybody? What's up?
What's up,
hello.
Dude? Hey, so I just have a quick question for you guys, and I'm very curious to hear what you say. Okay. So there's this concept on the coddling of the American mind called anti-fragility. Do you think that nowadays, since everything's been kind of nerfed up, what do you think men can do to become more anti-fragile in terms of dating or, that kind of stuff?
Do you want to go first, Kyle, or should I?
I think so. I do think compared between the two groups, if we're really, really reductive, I think probably men are a little bit more anti-fragile than women in general, just because of the way that we like parent boys. And
would disagree actually on that as a side note.
I think the best thing that we could do for like our boys, for our kids in general, is give them manageable problems and like let them solve it on their own, which is why I think the gym's really good. I think it's like a manageable obstacle. It's difficult. I also think that this is why it's really good for kids to go out like for a year and do like, I don't care if they do missions work, if they just travel and try to like find a job, but they should like leave their home, leave like where they're comfortable and be pushed to like do things on their own independently because it's super, super difficult.
Cool.
I would argue that actually men are more fragile than women on average. I think like with intelligence, there's more of the they're more outliers. So there's some men who are like really, really anti-fragile, like the Jocko Willings.
Mhm.
And then there's the men who are super fragile versus women are more in the middle. That'll be my take on that. Because I know some women who are just like so much tougher when it comes to emotional stress than men. But in terms of but then they're like the ultimate guys like the Jocko Willings, they're just like fucking like less fragile than anybody. But in terms of like what's it called, like becoming less fragile, I think you have to experience stress and challenges, and the kind of stresses and challenges you experience should be based on your interests and hobbies. So for me, what do I like doing? I like picking up girls. So that's one of them. Just doing a lot of cold approach, which definitely is a fucking stressor and
Yeah.
beats you the fuck up, especially when you first get into it. I like working out. So that's another one that I do. And I like business shit. So that's another one I do, right? But back when I was younger, before I had injuries, a big one of mine was snowboarding, right? So I used to like hike. I used to hike like mountains so I could like get the fresh snow and like fucking do crazy jumps and shit and then take fucking insane falls and then like be injured and then get up and do it again. So I think it just depends on what your passions are, but like doing something that really pushes you and challenges you and like not getting complacent, not staying too comfortable and just constantly going a little bit outside your comfort zone, like 5 or 10%. That's how you become way more anti-fragile.
You know what? Speaking of being gay, wrestling with your friends and play wrestling as kids.
Oh, you're still on this?
No, seriously.
No,
okay.
no.
Rough and tumble play. First of all, wrestling with your friends with your clothes on is not gay. And if you think it's gay, you're just insecure. Wrestling is an extremely masculine sport. Yeah, absolutely. Masculine and MMA are like, MMA is so masculine. Wrestling is just that.
You can bond with your guy friends and go, axe throwing or do something else. You don't have to wrestle with other guys to.
Yeah, but you
to
can.
bond with guys. You
It's
can go
free.
shoot guns and do other stuff. You know what I'm
But
saying?
why wouldn't you wrestle? It's so masculine.
You can do other stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can go
Sure.
hiking. You can go on axe throwing. You can do all kinds of other stuff.
I
that's
think genuinely, if
physically
you think it's
involved.
weird to wrestle with your guy friends, you're just insecure because like MMA fighters and like other judo fight, like unironically, MMA fighting is one of the most respected things. And wrestling and play fighting are both predictors of later empathy. Kids, for example, if you want to build anti-fragile kids, you should let them do rough and tumble play, like lots of it. I think one of the worst things we ever did in society is
it's different when you're a kid. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So it's not gay when it's boys wrestling, but if it's two men wrestling, somehow it's gay. Are you going to try to tell me, for example, that Conor McGregor's gay because he wrestles with men?
He's an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
Oh, so if it's jujitsu wrestling, it's not gay.
If you are a professional fighter, then I don't think there's anything gay about it.
What?
But if you're just getting together with one of your friends, that's an adult, and you're like, hey, bro, let's just like wrestle each other. Ooh, oh, I got your balls. Oh, like.
Why are you grabbing each other's balls? That's not how you wrestle, anyways. I think
Well,
that's more weird of you. Like, why are you grabbing his balls while you're wrestling?
I don't fucking know. I don't that's you can see that I don't wrestle with my friends, right? Because I don't know so little about it. Like, I don't fucking know. But I don't know. I think that's kind of bizarre. But
You can do like boxing and other stuff that makes you more, challenging and challenge yourself
Jujitsu is
and that kind of
like.
stuff.
Jiu-jitsu is one of the most respected
Yeah, I
forms
think
of fighting.
jujitsu-
Every single,
Yeah.
but jujitsu is wrestling. It's just
I know,
ground
but
technique.
I think there's a big difference between going to like a jiu-jitsu competition or taking jiu-jitsu class and like calling one of your boys over and saying, hey, bro, let's just wrestle each other.
Well, that's not what you would do anyways. That's like that. Okay, this is unironically the virgin response to like when I'm talking about like how to get sex with women. Where it's like virgins are gonna be like, so what? You just want to tell me to call a girl over and be like, hey, woman friend with vagina, would you like to have sex with me? And it's like, okay, thank you, Freya. She agrees. What she's saying is that's not how you call. You're not gonna like call your bros over and be like, hey, get your balls ready. I want to wrestle you. What instead is gonna be happening is you're gonna be like hanging around. Maybe you're gonna start by finger fencing because it's a fun, just like athletic competition. And then like it turns into like wrestling, just like naturally. Or like say somebody like it's not that gay. It's so weird that people think it's gay.
Why are you so determined to get dudes like wrestling with each other?
Because I actually think it's so cringe that so many straight men cope about like touch being gay. Like it's actually just like massive insecurity. I don't know what else to say about it. Like
I don't see this.
jujitsu's fine, but wrestling's not.
It just doesn't appeal. Well, jujitsu doesn't appeal to me either. Like no physical combat really appeals to me personally.
What about 15-year-old guys wrestling?
Why would I want to watch little kids wrestle?
I'm not saying you're watching them. I'm asking. You said little boys doing rough and tumble plays. Okay, what if they're 15 and doing rough and tumble plays?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember like myself. Like me and my friends, we used to like play like football, and we would like we would like fight up, like play fight on the trampoline.
Yeah. Is that gay?
No, I don't think that's gay. I think
so like at 18, it magically just becomes gay.
I mean, I feel like it doesn't become gay. I feel like it becomes weird. I'll change my position on this. It's not gay. It's just kind of bizarre.
To play?
To like fucking get together with a dude and just like wrestle each other. Like I don't know, like just like.
Hey, but that's not how any of this would have happened. Like it's not like when you're 15, you just got together and you're like, "Hey guys, let's come over so we can wrestle and touch each other."
No, that's exactly how.
That's not what we're talking about. You just had a friend over. You were just.
It would be like I would call one of my friends and we would do that. Like, hey, what are we doing today? Oh, we're getting together at Johnny's house. We're gonna fight on the trampoline. Oh, dope. Should I bring water balloons? Yeah, hell yeah, man. All right, cool. Yeah, it's gonna be fucking epic.
That sounds so fun. Why aren't you doing that now? No, unironically, like the biggest problem with society is that adults are fucking boring and they forget how to play. Like it's totally fine. If I had a bunch of friends over and I was like, look, we're gonna have water balloons on the trampoline and then people are gonna fight each other. That would be, and we're gonna have beer and weed, so we're doing some adult things too. That would be fucking epic. That would be so damn fun. The girls could go at it and all the guys could be like, yeah. That sounds like an amazing time.
You didn't say there was gonna be girls there. If there's girls there, that takes the gayness level down like 20 levels.
Oh, so if there's other girls there, you can wrestle in front of them and now it's not gay.
No, well, if there's girls there, that takes the gayness factor down by a few points for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, senior. Yeah, so we kind of got carried away there on that tangent. All right. Did you have anything? Oh, that's it? Okay, cool.
No, you got. Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Sorry to derail.
He came on for like 30 seconds and we just wound up debating like wrestling for 15 minutes.
I will not get off of this.
I know. You seem stuck on it.
I am. I'm actually so intense about like rough and tumble play for men and stuff. I think it's so important for adults to like figure out how to play.
Okay, but does your husband do that?
Like he doesn't invite men over to be like, hey, you want to come wrestle? But if we're hanging out with like a group of friends and stuff, yeah, I think wrestling often happens.
Like he'll just start wrestling with his friends?
Him and the roommate will often wrestle. I don't know how it gets triggered. They'll just be like chilling, and then eventually they like somehow end up wrestling. It's not really that gay.
That's interesting. Okay, I mean, I guess
it's super normal. It's like we hung out in San Diego with a whole bunch of our like crew and like community for like 5 days. And when we were on the beach, we'd go like surfing, and then like finger jousting was super popular. Have you ever done finger jousting?
Like a thumb war or what?
No, it's where you like hold. So you kind of hold like this, and each have a pointer, and the whole point is to be able to poke the other person like on their chest or like somewhere on their body to win. Okay. So it's actually like you practice this in jujitsu. So the finger fencing and then like the push game as well. So we would just do that, and then it end up like finger wrestling with like finger fencing would just like get really extreme, where like people are like putting each other in chokeholds.
Okay. Alex Russell's deciding which of the 2 pairs of sweatpants he owns he's going to wear. Very accurate statement. That's my type of wrestling. Let's bring on this guy. He's from your community. JubeTube.
Oh, hi, Jube.
Hey, man. How's it going? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, look at that. Listen to that audio quality. No, it's perfect.
Shit. I'm a musician,
this
so
guy
I
has
got
the
that
funniest
right.
comments. Natty wrestles with Alex over buying her dinner.
Amazing.
True. She does. I know.
So forgive me that I missed a couple sections in between, but Kyla, you mentioned the hugging friends as a sort of, I don't want to say that you were calling it a replacement, but in a way to supplement like not having that connection with women or being able to get that feeling, I guess, from romantic intimacy. And I wonder if I'm just disconnected from the extreme of male that there is. I mean, clearly like any form of touching is just like entering into the gay realm versus I feel like with my homies, there's like bromance, right? Where you may like make a joke and maybe you might say no homo, but it's more ironic of a callback to when you had to clarify it 10 years ago versus now we're like, we've all known each other 15, 16 years. We've all seen each other cry. We've been there for like really intense moments where a lot of that kind of even more emotionality that's like suggested to men from women that often gets dismissed as like not the way that men want to express emotionality, which is true, but it's just I've been there for all those extremes. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like the camaraderie amongst brothers is underestimated, like that Spartan brotherhood, because the online voice, I guess you could say, kind of portrays a more like insecure or homophobic persona. That being said, I might just live in this niche that's outside of people that are still in that mindset, right? So,
well, in terms of like jokes, me and my friends do that all the time. Me and my close friends, we like always make fun of each other, and like also like we'll say some like like we'll do that shit like no homo, but like blah blah blah, insert like really bizarre joke, right? So that me and my group of friends do all the time. Just
right.
The wrestling is just not something we do, but hey, maybe my group of friends is just different. We're not a physical body.
And that was the thing I was gonna say too. I feel like there's a lot of that play fighting when we're younger, whether it's like reenacting Dragon Ball or whatever the hell it might be.
Yeah, no,
and
eventually,
yeah, exactly. And we took it too far because we didn't understand, like, oh, the gut punch actually hurt my boy. Like, yeah, I won, but also he dropped, and it wasn't like he stopped acting in that moment. But I feel like at a certain age, it's like the people that are still more into that sort of rough and tumble play, or even wrestling, end up getting into martial arts, and they'll move it into sparring as opposed to just kind of fucking around. And it's like we end up playing. I can swear on both you guys' channels, right? Yeah. No worries. But it's like video games ends up being that place where we get a lot of that kind of like a virtual replacement, which I know is not the same as the physical, tangible experience, but a lot of that kind of camaraderie and like team building and all that sort of stuff ends up happening there. Oh, that was the point with like football teams. I think at least I'm born in 91. So growing up in my age range, being in high school, it's like whether it was like homophobia still being super present or just because at that point we're still exploring our sexuality and it's more geared to resist anything that falls outside of that realm. I feel like once you get into college, more of that like slapping on the butt and like the stereotype from movies might come more from a slightly older demographic who's like then going to house parties and having whatever type of sexual experiences where they're very confirmed in that as they're growing into it as adults versus still shy and figuring themselves out at like age 16 or something like this. So that's kind of a
that's food for thought. I'm trying to think like amongst my childhood, when was that more predominant? Like when I was like in high school. I feel like for me, like I don't know, but then again, I had like a totally different group of friends in college than I did in high school because I went to like school like 4 hours from my hometown. I don't know, like my high school group of friends was like a very bizarre group of characters. Like I could tell stories for days about like my high school group of friends, and they're just all fucking characters. But yeah, I feel like the most crazy like borderline gay shit was like probably like like high school kids, like I don't know, like we never had like the fucking slap on the ass shit, but I'm trying to think of like some weird shit that like one of my friends would do. I don't know, like one of the weird things, like I had this friend who would fucking like fart and he would fart into a bag and he would like run up and like put the bag on your head and stuff like that. It's more like gross, I guess.
Male intimacy be like, goddamn. Like, true, there's definitely a line of shit jokes in all of our youths.
This is the thing.
Yeah, it's not that cool
why
when you get caught under one of those bags, Erudite, and you have to.
No, but it's funny. This shit is funny. Like I'm reading the comments, and guys are starting to talk about like some of their favorite moments from their childhood, and like one guy's like, "Me and my bros would have tibia on tibia battles," which is a terrible idea, but hilarious and fun. And it's like, why did we decide as a society that once men turn 18, they just like can't play anymore? They just have to be about slaying pussy and being fucking top G. And it's just like, why? That's like
a Bugatti.
Like this is why like teens are so fun to play with, because like they're still willing to like engage and like play to some extent. And then like they turn 18 and they're like, well, now I have to be all serious and tough. And it's just like, why? Like you're missing out on some of the best parts of life.
Right. I wonder if sorry.
I was just gonna say, I'm not gonna say fart in a bag and like throw it over your friend's
head
anymore.
Oh, okay. I just remembered another one. High school. This again, like I was always like, I don't know, like my group of friends were just into like weirder shit than I was. So I never like really got into any of this stuff. But like another one was like battles where we would just like try to punch each other in the dick. And the first person that would go down would like lose. And like sometimes they would engage in this game without like me even volunteering. Like I would be like fucking changing or something. And like my friend, let's just call him Spence, would run up and be like, "Gotcha, bro!" Bam! Oh, you just fucking go down. He's like, "Oh, I got Valencia."
Exactly. But no, and like here's the thing. If I was being you 10 minutes ago, you'd be like, "What do you mean? You guys are just like touching each other's dicks every now and then? That's so gay." And it's like, it's not gay. You're just playing. It's just
the
playing.
one guy who's like, I found an excuse.
Kyle, I do think it would be totally
the one
different.
guy. Just the one.
Okay, Kyle, but I do think it would be totally different if one of my friends did that to me now. Like my reaction would be so different. I'd be like, "Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?" Versus in high school was like, "Oh, dude, you fucking got me." I don't know.
Sure. I think play morphs. The problem is that as we become adults, we just decide that play doesn't get to happen anymore. And like you can only play in certain ways because it's immature to play in other ways. And it's like there are some things that would be weird if adults did, right? That's why it's weird if adults go trick-or-treating, because it's like you're an adult, you're not a child, right? But we do other things to play in Halloween, like we do like giant dress-up like everyone just gets in their like coolest costume. It's usually very slutty and like competes and like parties and stuff like that. To some extent, like this is an element of play. I think like, I don't know why we've convinced adults.
No, I'll grant you that. I think it would be better if we played more. I don't know if like wrestling, but like you can do things like paintball or like fucking like Elon Musk is known for doing like fucking like crazy like tournaments for his birthday. Like haunted house shit or various sports. I agree with you. I think play is a great thing. And it would be better if we played more as adults. So yeah, I agree. I'm going to revise my position.
I have two thoughts that sort of connect to that, just to try. I mean, you're more the psychoanalyst than myself here, but I'm trying to think of when I was that age, and whether it's like having friends or older siblings and family that are showing me that other mindset where, people are growing at different rates, and your humor starts to change from putting a bag of fart over your friend's head to whatever it is, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, these things that start to pull you into the concept of comedy instead of just like whatever kid boy humor. But I wonder if on some level there's like a wrestling of trying to grow up and be less of a baby and less of this kid that it's that inner struggle of trying to, I guess, mature up to the certain age where you're respectable or respect worthy, but also and trying to also not be so goofy that you're stuck behind in that childlike humor that's gonna like make other guys think you fucking suck or make chicks think you're lame, because it's like, why is this guy still making fart jokes? Like, bro, get with, like, we're past that, and then the other half of it is you're talking about how we stopped playing, and although I do think there might still be that within close friends, there seems to be a large uptick, or I don't know if this is different or we just have data on it now, but men in their 20s and 30s that just didn't stay in touch with any groups of friends, and now they don't have close friends, so they don't have the people where they feel like close enough or intimate enough with that they can do things like that, like get physical, or if even just in the like 18 to 20, because you were saying we like leave high school and all of a sudden we're all pretending to be grown-ups, which really we're all just going to be like our 25-year-old self with more responsibilities as age goes on. But I wonder if the play thing gets moved into like the club where we're then able to, it's kind of like rough and tumble, but our minds are so charged with the sexuality of trying to get laid, our hormones, whatever the fuck it is. We're going to college, we're moving out of the parents' place, all this sort of thing where what was high school parties is now ramped up into either our money or borrowed money. But all that physical energy is getting put into that place also to satisfy that very real, like I can only speak as a guy, but you do start to, I think it's fair to say that many dimensions of our lives are geared towards the idea of being a viable person that other people want to sleep with and then build a connection to, etc. Whether it's the career path we pick because of the financial outcome that it brings, or for myself as like an artist, even before I thought about it, my brother's like, you should pick up the guitar because chicks like guitar more than video games. And I was like, okay, sure, bro. And I thank him for it later, but yeah, it did play a role in that sort of thing. So anyways, to pull back, the point was really just the rough and tumble play moving into like the club type environment, and then the sexualized mindset influencing it, and then people falling out of it who are just not having close enough friendships, which is a real issue outside of someone like myself who luckily has held on to that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is an issue that's predominantly among men. Women don't really have this issue typically. But yeah, I think that's pretty sad. like dudes who are like in their 30s who don't have friends.
Mhm.
I'm really lucky that I also have a pretty good group of friends that some of them I've known for like 20 years. Some of them for like 5-10 years. But yeah,
For sure.
I feel like I have an unfair advantage though. It's because I have like this YouTube channel. So there's like a whole bunch of like men who want to like be my friend. So
Yeah.
like if I move to a new city, there's always like a whole bunch of dudes who want to meet up with me, and like a certain percentage of them are going to be actually like really cool people.
Yeah.
Like, I think at this point, like at least 50% of my friends are from like playing with fire.
Playing the fire?
Playing with fire.
Is
That's like
his
my
channel.
Oh,
that's my
sorry.
channel.
I gotcha.
Maybe even more.
Right.
Maybe like even 60 or 70%.
Well, that's a huge thing with everything going super digital, especially with like dating apps and Tinder. It's like how much of these connections were happening through circumstance that is now being eliminated as we get more isolated. So you having a channel that's going to like funnel you social connections is like such a, immeasurably valuable tool that a lot of people definitely don't have as they're whatever,
for
kind of
sure.
screaming into the void.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely have an advantage in that sense, 100%.
Right on. There was only one. I don't want to like hog too much time. I should really get out of here. But there's one other point I wanted to bring up as like this is the way that I relate to the incel community as someone who's like very much not been in that place for the majority of my life, but then ended up in a long-term relationship, like very serious lifelong intention. It was long distance for a while, whatever. Her visa ran out, and then the pandemic hit, shit fucked up, and the circumstances were obviously super restricted. Dating market has shifted in that time, and I'm like finding my place in it again. I don't have the same mechanisms or avenues in place, whether it was performing with the several bands that I had going at the time, or just being in as many social circles. Also, politics ripped a whole bunch of people apart. All this sort of stuff has like polluted the water, where it's like, I know the 50 things I got to work on for myself, like fitness, finance, my apartment, like all those practical things to actually take action and shift in my life. But the one thing I always find is sort of missing in these conversations, or I'm missing, I guess, is I'm able to succeed in person or in someone's DMs, but I am seemingly invisible on dating apps, which is like,
yeah, that's a pretty easy
complete shift.
It's probably because your photos aren't that good. You feel free to we have a forums.playingfire.com. It's totally free.
Yeah.
Make a post with your photos. I'll personally take a look. Just tag me in it, and I'll give you some feedback.
I've seen a little bit of that. I've definitely tried and this is not to dismiss as if I've tried everything, and I will do that. I'm just saying that I definitely have also tried a handful of different ones to, whether it's show, travel, or several different things, angles, whatever it might be, to appeal more to the mind, and different bios and things to either give more or less detail.
If you have it ready, you can pull it up. If you want to do real quick, if you want to pull up your profile, I can give you like real quick help.
I don't know if I can pull it up to here right now, or
just jump on the next stream. We do these every Monday, and
sure.
I'll be happy
I'll find my way back.
Yeah,
but right on. I guess any last question? I don't want to, take this time too much on my way out.
Thanks for coming on. You seem like a pretty cool dude. I like the hair. Maybe one of the things you should work on is stop hogging all that hair and share with people who need it.
Hey, you wanna know where they get the term capping from? You think I'm wearing this by choice? Don't worry, God hates me, my guy. My time has come. I got to learn to adapt to just accept what biology is telling me to do.
Wow, you're losing hair? No fucking way. Look like
you want me to reveal to your whole fucking audience right now?
Yeah, please do.
All right. Alex wants to feel better.
Wait, I just want a genuine question. Did both of you think that I wasn't balding?
I did not think. I thought you were dripped as fuck out.
Yeah, I thought you were like fucking like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of hair.
I appreciate you. I'll show you an older picture later, but I guess the hat really does fucking work.
Let's see. The grand reveal.
Holy shit!
Oh my!
Your boy is dead inside. Imagine having the disheartening, being a musician, rocking that, and then it's gone. I didn't get the
that, but you have so much hair on the sides. How's that even?
I know I'm Persian, yo. There's infinite. Oh, I'm actually
and the good beard.
Right, and that's the thing. I just got to embrace the fucking head, get a good hat, headphones behind the back, and just rock that solid beard. I got gifted this if I'm gonna lose that. Yeah. Forgive me. I'm glad that little joke thing reminded me one last thing, Erudite or Kyla rather. I appreciate you bringing it up on Destiny stream the other day. It's not to be dark and not to take a left turn, but of what's going on in Iran right now, that shit is fucked. My parents escaped that craziness years ago so I could live in Canada and have a life that is fucking blessed beyond belief. And so it's unfortunate how some people don't know about it, but I get it. The world's a mess. And so there's a lot to keep track of. I'm not knocking anybody. That's not a jab at nobody. Trust me. Just thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, I guess thanks to both y'all for letting me come on and chill and chat for a second. Much love.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Have a good one. Is he referring to the Iranian, like the uprising?
Do you know about it? It's crazy. It's crazy. Some of the shit that's going on is crazy.
Very, very little, honestly.
There's a bunch of lawmakers who voted recently. So they've got about 15,000 people arrested in jail for protesting. And they are pressuring their so the lawmakers passed a bill and they're now pushing. I haven't seen whether it's confirmed. I doubt they're going to be publicly confirming. But there's talks to execute all 15,000 protesters.
Holy shit.
And there's like active, like there's tons of like protesting athletes who will come back into the country and just disappear. There's like known like bloggers and like activists who are being like actively tortured and people like know about this. It's like really, 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 really bad. And like no one's talking about it. No one's talking about Iran. And it's like crazy shit. Like people are dying. Yeah.
Damn.
If your guys are interested in anything politics, just look up Iran. It is crazy.
I'll take a look at it tonight. Are you down to do one more person? This guy seems to really want to debate you. Or you want to call?
Oh, sure. One more.
One more.
Oh, fucking Christ. Are you kidding me?
What's going on?
What's up? He actually sent me.
I have 10 minutes for him. Okay.
Wait,
we'll keep it 10 minutes. He actually sent me photos of him. I will confirm that he is a tall, skinny, pretty decent looking dude.
Thank you. I'm flattered.
Or they proved that he also like it was him like he had like
bro, come on, man. Jesus Christ.
We don't know. We don't know that's true, but
oh really? They're just like random photos of a dude.
Oh, it's just random photos of the same guy in different locations.
You fake a deep voice. I don't know what I don't know what to believe.
I'm just like not faking this voice. I mean, Alex has a deep voice too, but like I don't take PRT.
I don't fake my voice though. This is my.
It's just magic that all your inflection is gone. Yeah. Me too. I also have a very deep voice naturally. I also happen to struggle with inflection. All right, let's have this debate.
Okay. Off to good faith. I see.
Yeah.
Off to a good start.
Yeah. All right. What do you want to talk about looks for L?
Jeez. Okay. Well, I think we should cover like some of the solutions for incels and some of the ones you guys discussed. And I think there's like some better methods.
Okay.
And just discussing that. Like, could you tell me again what are the solutions that you offered?
Yeah, so I think okay. One was we talked about going to the gym, committing to weight training and putting on muscle.
Okay.
Number two, we talked about what's it called? Trying to experience flow states. Reading the book The Rise of Superman and trying to get into flow states. Three, we talked about fixing any physical issues you might have. So like vitamin deficiencies, mineral deficiencies, hormone imbalances, heavy metal toxicity, mold toxicity, stuff like that, which can definitely fuck with your brain. Number four, I guess this one we didn't cover, but I think we should have, is meditation. I think meditation can be a really good way of calming your brain down. What are the other ones we did? Number five is separating from the community of negative people that preach doomerism shit and hanging out with people who are more positive. Number six is getting outside and just like talking to girls, interacting with girls. Yeah, I think those are the big ones.
Yeah. Okay. So what would your solutions be for a guy that like tries over and over? He's hit the gym and done all this and still doesn't have any results. Or like his results are like low tier women, like not attractive women.
Well, when you say he doesn't have, like he's not able to put on muscle.
No, let's say he does all these things and he's still struggling. That's what I'm saying.
Because the thing is that like I've had a lot of coaching clients. Some of them are ultra skinny, some of them are ultra jacked. I have never once had a client who's like really jacked, who's like has a bad mindset when it comes to women. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think there's something about like getting in really good shape that instills a really good mindset in you. Well, we would need to really explore that. What has he tried? Like quite often I get situations where I have guys who are like, dude, I've tried the online dating thing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. Insert random reason. I was like, okay, well, let's take a look. He's like, oh, dude, there's no point in even trying. I'm like, well, let's just take a look. I look at their photos, and their photos suck balls. And then we fix their photos, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I think online dating actually can work. Oh my god, I was wrong."
Yeah, I think having
so-
better photos matters, of course. But I'm talking about if a guy's like 5'6", 5'7", and they're just undesirable because they don't meet the threshold.
Well, I have the guy Aaron. He's my marketing guy, but he also is like really heavily involved in like my brand. He co-wrote a chapter on. So basically, he started off as like one of my students, and then we met up, and he's like a really cool guy, and we started like he co-wrote a big article for me, and it was basically called "How to Get Laid if you're in the bottom 80% or something like that." But he's actually 5'6". He's a guy who's 5'6". Nothing. He's not ugly, but he's not like stunning either. A 5'6" guy, and he does pretty well. So I still think it's doable. I think a more interesting question is, what do you do if you're like 5'2"? Because I think a 5'6" guy can still make more. A 5'2" guy, that's like a whole different story.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's still ambitious to think like most of these 5'6" guys are getting laid. I'm sure there's some if they have a good face or good physique.
No, I agree with you. It's not most, but I think that this is what I always say is like, why do you want to be like most people? Don't you want to like? I always want to be like the outliers. So it's like when the Blackpill community looks at statistics and they see that like most guys are failing and then there's a small part of guys who are succeeding, they're like, oh, well, it's over. But the way I look at that is like, okay, how can I reverse engineer what the outliers are doing and be like them? That's how it's been with like every area of my life. Most businesses fail. Most everything fails. People generally fail at pretty much everything they do. Most people fail. So it's like, what do you have to do to be like the outlier? So
yeah, but not everyone can be the outlier. I think it's a good mindset, but it's just assuming that every man can do it. Like technically every man can, but not every man will. I think you can improve it. But
can I share you a study?
Okay.
So there was a study that looked at burn victims. It looked at their sexual success before and after burning and also compared them to the general population. And what it found is that regardless of their disfigurement, most of them were sexually active at the exact same amount before and after. And actually in the burn victim group, they reported having a higher overall sexual activity than general population.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if I like would believe that right off the bat. Clearly,
You just
like
don't believe science, or what?
Well,
What's your problem?
If you have a burn on your face, you will obviously lose like almost all your appeal. It's like having a disability, like being in a wheelchair. You just won't be desired because you have facial flaws that are just like, it's literally like a disability.
Right. So then why are all of these burn victims still, in fact, not just having sex, but some of them are reporting more sex after being burned?
Again, I would question the credibility of that study right off the bat. Just using common sense.
Wait, so you would just use your anecdote just exclusively to deny the empirical evidence? You should at least probably critique methodology. I could send it to you, but you should probably critique methodology rather than just saying my bias.
If you get a burn on your face, you're actually going to have more sex than before you had a burn on your face. People will think you're delusional. Like
probably that's an outlier, but I would suggest that the data at least robustly shows that whether you're burned or not, for men particularly, their success rate with both romantic and sexual relationships didn't change, suggesting that women probably don't select that dominantly on looks alone.
Well,
like maybe like if you get burned, like you come really close to death, that like you develop a new outlook on life and you become more like of a so maybe while you are less physically attractive, you make up for it by being more positive and being more of a like a like a go-getter because you experienced death.
Just burn your face. You'll get more sex.
No one is saying that though.
I know. I'm making a joke here. Okay, come on. But
I sometimes can't tell with you.
I wanna just say that like first of all, getting a burn, we'd have to see like how strong that burn is. Like how big it is on your face or body or whatever. Maybe it's so small that like it's not really that noticeable. The other thing I want to say is that
they separated it out by burn locations. Genital, face, hand. Those are the main separations.
Won't matter until you have to do the deed, and by then it may be too late. Just like some guys, if they'll meet a girl off a dating app and they think she's super hot online, and then when they meet her, she's kind of busted, but they're like, "Oh, fuck it, I'm already here. I'm horny."
Here's another finding:
I don't do that.
Burn victim men's were more sexually successful than burn victim women's.
I don't think. Well,
what do you think about that?
Again, I critiqued like how attractive your girlfriend is, Alex, and you're entitled to your own opinion as well. But a lot of guys will like.
Why do the black pillars always go back to my girlfriend? This is like.
Well, I told you why. There's like a reason for it. Like if you're preaching.
Wait. Hold on. I was asking you a direct question. How do you account for the fact that burned men were more sexually successful than burned women?
Again, I'd have to read this study, and just like.
What do you think? Just take the study for its words. Let's assume that the study is not complete hogwash. What do you think is going on?
I have no idea. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Really?
Anyway.
That's your response? Do you want to go back to attacking Alex's girlfriend instead? Do you want to do that cope instead?
And the thing is, it's not to attack. It's more so.
It's to derail. I see.
I understand. Why are you talking like this? It's just annoying.
What do you mean? I'm just talking. This is my normal voice.
Okay. Alex, back to what I was saying was that the kind of caliber of woman that you can pull speaks to how like good looking you are and how good your game is. So if you're not gonna like pull a stunner girl, that reflects like poorly on you. You know what I mean?
Okay. My question is, what is your solution? So you're saying that my approach of like trying to be the outlier, that's like not the best. So what is your solution for these guys?
The solution is, I've mentioned it before. I think one of the solutions is getting surgery. So if you have some deficiency in your face that really makes you ugly, you can fix it with surgery. The other thing you can do is go to another country where it's a lot easier. I've already mentioned this. Like anything Southeast Asia would be pretty easy for like a lot of guys, because if you're a short guy, you'll actually tower above these Southeast Asian men because on average they're very short. So things like that where you can kind of enhance your appearance through surgery or move to a location where it's a lot easier. Those are like two actually very good points of advice, I'd say, that are very practical.
Well, I don't think the surgery one. The moving to a different country, I'm open to. The surgery one, I think, is not good advice unless you have severe deformation. Because surgeries have all kinds of side effects. I personally had a nose job because I broke my nose when I was 16, because for some superficial reason, and I had to deal with about a year worth of breathing problems. It was miserable. I would not wish it on my enemies. So yeah, I think that you shouldn't be willy-nilly about hard. Yeah, what's up, Erudite?
I was just wondering, I have a member of my community who's been dying to fight with Looks for L for a while. Is there any chance we could pull Peacecraft in?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, someone was saying in the chat that like if you're a black pillar, it means you can't be a chat or this, and that. Like just coming to grips with reality doesn't mean that like somehow you're an incel. Like those are not linked. It's just
looks for L. You mentioned two things. What about improving your social skills? Where does that rank on your hierarchy?
So yeah, I'm glad you said social skills and not game. So that's a step in the right direction.
I said that on purpose.
Those are the same thing.
You black pillars hate the word game, so
because game. Yeah,
I'm speaking your language.
Thank you.
So Looks, could you establish some priors for me really quick, bud? And then I'll introduce myself to you. My name's Peacecraft. I'm a member of Erudite's community. Since you like to mog individuals or like to rate them based on some subjective standard that you have, judging by my voice alone, would you believe me to be an incel?
No, I don't think you can base it like purely off the voice. Your voice isn't like very high pitched to the point where like.
Well, I mean, it's not as deep as the one you're faking, but I just wanted to...
I'm not faking my voice. I don't know where this is coming from. I'm just not faking
Whatever works. So you
I just have high testosterone levels. I mean, some people just think
Well, I mean, You said that men... Or what was your standard for height that you established? Was it under 5'4"? Under 5'4" was something that you'd established was very difficult for men to have sexual relations with?
Anything under 5'6", 5'7".
Okay. Well, unfortunately, the data doesn't quite support your claim. Like the median height of a woman is only about 5'2", and really
it's 5'4" in the US.
That's not true. You're not accounting for regional variability. You're not accounting for cultural variability.
A simple
Google search. Well, shit. I only had Sci-Hub up. I mean, I don't know what Google stands for, but anyways,
I'm talking about in the US. Especially
anyways, I'm not here to talk about somebody with a black belt on Google. What I'm saying is, by every credible research that I can see, women only have a preference for an individual taller than them. And it is a preference. It's not an immutable set in stone characteristic. And while I will agree with you, it matters to some degree, I'd really like you to like explain to me how like fucking Peter Dinklage like is married with kids and he's a fucking dwarf.
You're Dinklage.
I
Oh
thi-
yeah,
I think
he's like the super high status fucker. I know who that guy is.
Okay. So off rip, what we can establish is that while looks are important and height is important, and they certainly don't mean nothing, you can gorilla mode your ass off to get both wealth and status, and probably at least bag yourself a 5. You could probably bag yourself a 5, right?
Why would you want to settle for? Okay, first of all, let me debunk this like one by one. We're talking about outliers here, right? These people who are celebrities are like 1 in a million, more than that. Like it's super rare to begin with to acquire that level of wealth or status. So not everyone can do it. It's very, very, very rare. Secondly, you wouldn't want to settle for a 5. Like you should get.
Well, hold on. Why do you wish women to settle for you?
They're not settling though. That's the difference.
You're right. So, first of all, you believe that these women are hypergamous and should instead match to a standard or a rating or a number which better befits them, correct?
Well, I think you can.
What would you rate yourself?
Is this relevant?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Objectively, I rate myself an 8.
Objectively, you rate yourself an 8. Okay. So we can feel a feeling and be wrong, correct? Would you like to answer some personal questions?
I've already analyzed my face, like with all sorts of metrics objectively.
I don't give a shit. This is all about subjective opinion from the individuals you're interacting with, and it doesn't seem that you're getting very high rewards. So would you mind answering a couple personal questions for me?
Sure.
How tall are you, bud?
I'm 6'3".
Okay. How much money do you make?
I'm currently unemployed.
Oh, well, that might be something we need to fix.
But I don't struggle with girls. That's the difference.
Do you live at home, or do you live alone, or do you live with roommates?
I just graduated college, so I'm back home.
Okay, so you live with mom and you're unemployed. And you're saying that you don't struggle with girls.
Right, that's my whole point. But it's mostly, if not all, about your looks. Like, what are you not getting here?
I'm just establishing priors. I've heard some of the claims you've made, but I wasn't completely sure. These women that you're hooking up with, would you say that they are more or less attractive than Alex's girlfriend that you felt like deriding?
Wow. It always comes back to my girlfriend.
They're more attractive. I think Alex can do a lot better, in my opinion, but in the hypergamous nature of women, like men typically are going to be, like if a woman is with a man, she's typically going to be less attractive than the guy in general. It's either she's at your looks match or below. So that's why you see, like, I don't know, all these chads. Even if you look at someone like MGK, who's just a tall, skinny white boy, he's bagging like the hottest girl on the planet. Like,
do you believe the fact that MGK is an internationally recognized rock star might have a little bit more to do with the fact that he's dating Megan Fox?
You're glossing over the fact that he's 6'4", blue-eyed, good bone structure, and relatively handsome. Like,
yes, because Post Malone is a fat dude with bad face tats, and he fucking eats the asses of Instagram models.
I'm talking about one of the hottest women on the planet, Megan Fox. Like, objectively, she's like extremely attractive.
Really? Do you have if this is an objective, scientifically backed study, I'm sure you have some level of data to support your claim. Well, I'll agree with you that Megan Fox is attractive. You really need to stop using the word objectively because you don't understand what it means.
There's ratios in the face that are appealing to look at. So, for example,
I'm very well aware of the golden ratio.
Right. So, even with the golden ratio alone, you'll see that her, what's it called? Height to width ratio in her face is really good. She has good bone structure. She's like of a European descent. Colored eyes with dark hair, all like these like good attributes that make someone attractive.
Yeah, I don't know. I would disagree. I would rate Megan Fox like a 7. I don't.
You would rate Megan Fox the same?
Yeah, it was after the the blood eating that she maybe went a little fucking.
She doesn't have tits. She doesn't have ass. Yeah, I would prefer
ping pong paddle thumbs. Ping pong paddle thumbs.
I would prefer a girl who's like who's shorter, has bigger tits, bigger ass. Yeah, like wouldn't be my type at all.
So, wow. Once we threw away the fact that you like to use objectively wrong, we had two individuals from their standpoint rate somebody subjectively and come to two wildly different conclusions. Looks for L. Would you say that Alex is incorrect in his assessment? Can he feel wrong about what he personally desires?
I think he's coping. That's what I think.
Why?
Alex, would you like to defend yourself?
Well, it's how am I coping? It's not
Okay,
like
let me
Megan
put it
Fox.
this way.
It's not like I'm trying to bang Megan Fox. I don't know
Who
her.
wouldn't
We have
wanna-
no
okay,
personal
like,
allegiance.
maybe there's
If
some
you look-
people who don't want
If
to
you
bang
look,
Megan.
wait, hang on, let me finish. If you look at the type of girls I go for, it's always the girls with the kind of like shorter, more petite, big tits, big ass. That's just been my type universally. So I would take someone like Lana Rhoades and I find her a lot more attractive than a Megan Fox. Bigger tits, bigger ass, shorter, more petite. Yeah, like to me, that's a no-brainer. So I know some people like kind of like the traditionally model look. I think also a lot of black pillars, they're not even going off what turns them on. They're just going off what they think they should be attracted to.
So we can talk about your body type that you like more, but in terms of the face, Megan Fox is clearly more attractive than your girlfriend. And you rated your girlfriend a 7 before.
Can you like try to make an argument without bringing it back to my girlfriend?
No,
Yeah,
but
looks for L. Looks.
just
If
like-
you put Megan Fox's face on a 2-foot tall woman, does that not matter? Is it
Come
only
on,
the
you're
face?
using like unreasonable fucking takes. here.
Okay, we can put it on a
There's-
3-foot woman. Is that okay?
But there's people in the chat who are agreeing with me. Like they're like agree with Alex. Like
Everyone's
yeah,
like Megan Fox is super hot in the chat. Like what?
dude,
Yes,
she's attractive, but people have different types. Again, no tits, no ass. That's not a turn on for me.
She has tits and ass. It might not be like
Not really, dude.
insane.
She's like a B cup.
No way, dude. She's okay. There's no point in like analyzing her specific cup size. That's kind of weird. But we can agree that she's like very
so
attractive.
She's super
weird.
hot. I'm
It's
sure we
not
can all
weird.
agree that she's
It's
hot.
not
We can
weird
right?
agree that she's
analyze
hot,
my
right? Like, why
girlfriend,
is
but
this
it's
even
weird
a
to analyze
discussion?
Megan Fox.
Thank you.
Sure.
Right.
We
Thank
can
you
of
very
course
much.
agree that she's hot.
Yeah. So
I'd
anyway,
say she's way higher than a 7, but that's
right. Of course.
Well, you have a different type than me.
Dude, come on. It's like okay. whatever.
move on. We've all agreed that
Let's
she's
move on,
hot.
let's move
People
on.
have different types. How is
so-
that like such a crazy concept?
No, I think you can have a different type, but I think attraction itself, like if you put two people next to each other, one person is like objectively ugly, one person's objectively beautiful or handsome, we can tell the difference. We don't need like with golden ratios.
Okay.
And
I think Lana Rhoades is to me significantly more attractive than Megan Fox.
okay.
You would disagree with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would disagree with you on that.
Okay, so you have.
But
a
they're
different-
both attractive. It's not like we're
Yeah,
debating
they're
whether a girl's like a 5
They're both
or
attractive,
3 or
but
something.
you find Megan Fox a lot more attractive. I find Lana Rhoades a lot more attractive.
Can you point to me in your objective algorithm where you would say that Alex is wrong, that Lana Rhoades is less attractive than Megan Fox?
I can point out like the IPD bone
Sure,
structure.
sure. Will you
golden
present
ratios.
that? Will you present that, please?
I mean, I can literally analyze it. Yeah, I can do it in
Oh.
Photoshop or something.
Sure. I mean, I'd love to. Like, we've got to get you stop using the word. So I agree with you on certain points. Looks do matter. Nobody has said that they don't matter, right? You can gain enough wealth and status to carry the fucking looks load. This is obvious with any high value status male. This is obvious with any individual. Somehow Elon Musk is shit out 17 kids, right?
He's a billionaire, dog. We're talking one in like
Okay,
a billion, billions, you know?
Okay. So now that we've established that it is possible, do you happen to know the level of income women report being satisfied with? Do you happen to know what it is? Oh no! Don't Google. Don't Google
No, I'm not
Blackpill.
Googling. I was typing cap because Alex said Lana Rhoades is greater than Megan Fox. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you happen to know that
I don't understand how the idea of like types is like immune to you? Like how you don't understand that people have different preferences?
No, I understand that there's different preferences, but something that is objectively attractive and something that's objectively not attractive, people can distinguish between the two easily.
So Lana Rhoades,
Oh, really?
Lana Rhoades is not objectively attractive, so it's just a coincidence. She was like the most like whatever, like profitable.
Again, I already granted that she's attractive, but Megan Fox is more attractive. You understand?
According to your standards.
Not just
what
me.
you look for.
Okay, wait, continue, Peacecraft.
Okay, so will
Can
you
you
or
do it again,
will
Paul?
you not grant that while looks matter, you can obtain wealth, status, and fitness to compensate, even if it looks like you were hit in the head by a fucking shovel?
I think a very, very small select group of men can do that, but definitely
Okay.
not the majority.
What leads you to this claim?
By seeing these manlet sub-5 celebrities or musicians who acquire so much wealth and status that it can be overlooked But for your average guy who's working a normal job, who's just a fucking incel.
What is a normal job to you?
Like, so many people are either like cashiers, truck drivers, anything like normal.
Do you know what a truck driver makes a year?
Depends where you live.
It's about 60 to 70 grand a year.
It really depends where you live. Also,
do you
like,
have any data to support the claim that you're making again? You seem to like data. I'd like you to provide it.
1 second. Well, I don't have it on hand. I would have to.
Okay, then don't cite it. All right.
Yeah.
Then second, so do you happen to know the level of wealth that most women find acceptable, or most humans find for their level of happiness
you're
to
derailing
normalize?
the
I'm not
comment.
normalizing. I'm asking you a direct question.
No, you're derailing the comment from like the fact that looks trump all this shit. That the amount of money she's content with in a relationship will not matter if you don't reach her threshold of looks. You need to be appealing enough for her to even consider you a viable option. That's my point.
And again, have you provided any evidence to this claim versus how we see it play out in reality, where looks do matter, and I grant that they matter, and aesthetics do matter, and fitness and health do matter, but men are not merely judged to being pretty femboys because you do not look like a fucking K-pop star, and instead that you can get a level of wealth and get a level of fitness and display a level of competence to cover the spread.
I want to point out that these K-pop stars have actually gotten plastic surgery to appeal more Western in their bone structure, so that's just kind of ironic.
Okay, that's a nice one, but would you please answer the direct question?
Can you repeat it? Sorry.
Yes, that while looks do matter, and nobody has said that they do not matter, that an individual can gain enough fitness, wealth, and status to cover the spread.
At an unreasonable amount, it's possible, yes. It's just most men will not even get
okay. So now that you've finally staked out a position that it is possible,
I've always thought it's possible, though.
It
but
doesn't
it's
seem like it.
extremely rare.
Oh, well,
it's rare,
let's
it's
work.
almost like dismissible. That's why.
Well, let's work on that next. So do you know the amount of money that human beings say normalizes their happiness?
No.
It's about $75,000. Would you like to open up a list of easy to obtain jobs that pay $75,000?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't even need a fucking high school or a fucking college degree for most of them and a high school diploma for some of them. So if we are measuring the amount of effort to gain that we can get based on the metrics of accomplishment in society, that we can clear a very low bar to get this number. Now, you said you have some level of fitness if you aren't posting catfish videos with a voice modulator. Do you believe individuals can go to the gym and improve their physical fitness?
Well, I'm actually like a skinny, tall white boy. I'm not
well,
going to the
eat
gym.
more and deadlift more, not my problem. Can
No, but
people
what I'm
go
saying-
to the fucking gym and improve their physical fitness?
Obviously.
Okay. So if we've established the barrier that looks are not all that matters, if we've established the barrier that an individual can better themselves financially, and if you've granted the claim that an individual can go to the gym and improve themselves physically, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm saying, although you can do all these things, like gym, I've actually argued you should do that, especially if you're a manlet or sub 5, 100%. I'm saying I don't need to do these things because I already passed the looks and height threshold, so it doesn't fucking matter.
Okay, so you are claiming that you smash. Are you in a what is the length of the longest term relationship that you have had?
I'm currently not interested in pursuing that.
Sure, that sounds like Coca-Cola, but we can work with it.
I mean,
so even if you do smash, is that merely all that you want out of life, or would you like to have a loving, committed, fulfilled relationship?
Eventually.
Okay, so it seems like even though you're a jobless, neat loser who lives with your mom, even though you're smashing these chicks out, once they come to realize who and what the fuck you are, they run away from you like the female cat from Pepe Le Pew, right?
From what I've seen, that's going to be farther from the truth.
Well,
they cling on
are you
to
in a
because
committed?
They desire you a lot.
Well, that's an
that's
an unfalsifiable claim. But if you'd like to give evidence to a person you trust, like Erudite or Alex, that'd be perfectly fine.
I could, yeah. I mean, I could.
Well, I would like to see proof of you quote unquote smashing a lot of girls.
Sure. I mean, I've already sent you photos. I'm not like afraid to do that. I just
But
there's a reason why I don't want to show my
oh, I
face.
understand, but you
Yeah.
sent me photos of yourself. That's not proof of you hooking up. With
Right. Yeah. But I just wanted to like send you photos so you can understand that, you know, I'm not speaking out of my ass. You can start to believe it. Even if you don't believe it now, you can like, it's not unbelievable.
Well, I wouldn't personally.
385 is pretty
I
unbelievable.
wouldn't rate you an 8. I would
Right.
rate you like a 6.5 probably.
And you rate your girlfriend a 7, so like the rating system is skewed, you know.
I think.
So just to
Could
clarify,
you like get a statement in without like referencing my girlfriend? It's like kind of
You
weird.
just brought it
having to
up.
reference
I mean,
her
you brought
every
up
single statement. Like
Okay.
every single thing you say just involves my girlfriend. But I think that if you went to the gym, which this is one thing I don't get, is like if looks are the only things that matter, then why wouldn't you like actually put on muscle?
It's like what's that term? I forget it. Oh, it's like diminishing returns really for me. Like the amount of effort I need to put in would not be worth the results I get from it.
Well, no, like you're like ultra skinny. Like I think if you actually put on 20, 30 pounds of muscle, like your SMV would go up by like 1.5 points.
yeah, maybe 1.6. I mean, objectively, right? If you run it through your Photoshop and look at a bunch of algos,
I think it'll help, but it doesn't.
But
they
anyways,
don't need to do it.
for the audience and for any other future claims, right? You've conceded the point that looks are not all that matters.
You're blowing it out of proportion, though. I said it's possible.
I'm
It's
not.
very, 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 very rare.
Okay, no, in your opinion, it is rare, but that doesn't seem to be how it is either reflected in self-stated women's preference, the census data of married couples, or fucking any other metric of human relationships we observe in the real world.
Sorry, I was like spacing out there. I wasn't really listening.
I figured your opinion is one thing, but it does not seem to bear out in either women's stated preferences, the census data on married couples, or any observable example in the real world.
Well, with Tinder, we can see it like clearly how like the top. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm glad that you wanted
There's
to use an
empirical
example.
evidence on dating apps that show that like the majority of men are not getting any type of play. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, no. See, what you're doing is a little thing called smuggling the term in there. What dating apps are showing is that men are not getting a lot of swipes. This has no bearing on if those self-same men go into the real world and interact with women.
Here's the thing. Online dating is half, like 50% of how people meet nowadays.
Negative.
Literally
Negative. No, negative. Online communication is only about 10% of communication. You're missing out on body language. You're missing out on tone. You're missing out on facial expression. You're missing out on so much on such a limited medium of communication. You might as well be trying to send a sext through Morse fucking code. It doesn't fucking work.
So how would you express your tone and body language through Tinder?
I wouldn't. I would go to church and talk to the hot bitch in aisle 3.
Okay. Well, I'm assuming you're not like an incel then. That's not a sub 5.
You don't know. Maybe I'm just a positive incel. You have no idea.
You're right. Maybe I should ask you now. You're with your success with women.
No, I'm terrible with women. I'm afraid of them deeply. I never speak to them, right? But anyways, just for the audience, will you confirm the fact that looks are not all that matters?
Yes.
Will you confirm the fact that one can improve their income to not a millionaire or not a billionaire level that you were previously defending, but can achieve not even a 6-figure income, but to a level that it normalizes human happiness and is easily the fucking median census data for married couples?
I'm saying women have unreasonable expectations.
Well, hold on. That's not the case because, again, when we look at census data of married couples and we see their earnings, it seems fucking sub 6-figure income.
And you've also seen the divorce rate in the U.S. is a bit.
Well, you quit moving goalposts.
I mean, it's the same topic. I'm not moving it.
You absolutely are.
Once you get content in these marriages because they make X amount of money,
you have no knowledge of what income bracket is getting fucking divorced at. It could be the millionaire gold diggers that are divorcing them and taking them for half their shit. Who knows? We might find out that $87,000 a year is the most stable income for marriage as possible. But would you please just confirm that you fucking affirm that statement for me real quick?
Why are you so set in stone on this? I don't understand.
I'm not.
It's
I'm
possible
getting.
to enhance your appearance. It's possible to gain status and wealth. The majority of men will never reach
Hold
that
on.
level.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. And we've established that versus being a supermodel and versus being an Instagram IG dude and being a millionaire and a billionaire, that we were able to drag that way, 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 way the fuck down into going to the gym and getting a sub 6-figure income. Correct?
Okay.
Okay. So it seems like rather than defending your position of the millionaire Arnold Schwarzenegger, Caleb Von Moger motherfucker, we've got to a guy with a 4-pack who makes $80,000 a year. It seems like individuals in your community just might be bitches. It actually just might be your fault.
Yeah, that's such a nice way to cope.
It's
so
not
nice.
cope. It's
1 in
not
3
cope.
men are incels, but somehow it's their fault.
It really, again, you've made a claim. Will you please? We're in the same private chat. Can you please provide proof for that claim?
Man, Alex, you even know that 1 in 3 men are incels. There's so many studies citing this.
Wait, sorry, what?
We were talking about how I brought up how 1 in 3 men are incels, involuntarily celibate, and he's contesting this claim, talking about I need to show proof for this.
No, that is it's you're slightly off. It's more like
It's like 28%,
Yeah,
29 or
like
something.
that.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And these men were involuntarily celibate their whole lives, or
It's-
just
no,
at the
the
time of
statistic
debate.
is under 30, so it's
Under
like, it's
30.
something like 28% of men under 30 are virgins.
Well, I hope, unless they started asking at 18, I hope a bunch of 10 and 11-year-olds aren't out there fucking. So what was the lower threshold for age asking?
I think it was 18.
18, yeah. I think it was 18 to 29 or 30, around there.
It was 18 to 30, yeah.
Yeah.
So even then, I'm not even that worried about it.
It's only increasing, by the way. The problem is not like, I mean, it's bad now, but it's going to get way worse in the next 5-10 years.
If you're going to make predictions like that, can I have next week's Powerball?
Bro, look at the trends. Obviously, it's not 100%, but you can make educated guesses on the trends. Like,
See, the
come on.
interesting thing is that you and I actually agree on the issue. We just disagree completely on the prescription.
Well, you and I agree that if you want to enhance your SMV, you should go to the gym, get your finances up. I think these are good things. However, I don't think it's going to compensate for your lack of looks a lot of the time. That's where we disagree.
Motherfucker, do you have a fucking brain injury? You just walked back 3 fucking claims only to retreat back to it when you talk with Alex. Be fucking consistent.
Bro, I already granted that there's
Let's
things you
take
can
it
do.
down,
Relax. I've always said you
Jesus
can enhance your
fucking Christ.
SMV. It's just
No.
sometimes if you're
What you do is you grant it. You grant it when you're called out. But as soon as you go to make a fucking prescription, it goes back to being impossible again. You're vacillating. You're like a fucking jelly bowl on a fucking vibrator. Like you don't have a fucking position to stick in.
Peace. Just take a deep breath, bro.
I'm
gonna be okay.
incredibly calm. I do this for fun. But what I'm saying is your positions fucking suck. And you are flip-flopping back and from them between who you're talking to. There's a little bit of latent sexism towards Erudite because you wouldn't speak to her in that manner. You go straight back to the Blackpill shit, and it's been observable a couple times. And
We're
that's fine.
debating incels, so obviously I want to keep it on track. So
No. Like, again, re-say what you said to Alex, but be consistent with the positions that you held prior.
I've always said that you can improve your SMV by going to the gym, right? This is not something I've countered in the past. You can. However, it's overwhelmingly majority. It's your height and your looks in the face. I'm talking about the face.
Okay.
And you can gain status and wealth, of course.
5 minutes ago, if 5 minutes ago, you fucking just agreed with me that it was not impossible and that attaining a level of wealth, commensurate to every recorded instance we have of women's satisfaction, doesn't even require a college degree or in some cases a high school diploma. Why do you believe that barrier is so high as to be improbable to impossible, as you keep saying?
Well, the improbable impossible, I was talking about celebrities and millionaires and billionaires. Like, this is such a small group of people. that it's almost like irrelevant talking about it.
I did not bring up millionaires.
We were
billionaires,
talking
and
about the celebrities. You brought up that gnome that gets hella pussy. I forgot his name, but the guy that was like super manlet.
You're right. I brought those examples up,
which are extreme outliers.
You're
Just
right.
pointing that out.
You're right. I took you to the outlier, and then I brought you all the way back to go to the gym once an hour and it make like 70 to 80 grand a year. While it's true that your claim of being a millionaire gnome might be like Destiny, might be really, really hard to fucking accomplish, being a truck driver with a 4-pack in a wife is not. You seem to go running right back to the celebrity argument when it comes back to wealth and status again.
No, because that's when these women will like do things they usually wouldn't do. Once you reach this top 0.1%, yes, there were women who will like still desire you for these other things, but you have to be in the top of the top. I mean, this is not rocket science.
Well, it slightly is, right? Do you believe that women that are 6s, 7s, or 8s don't fucking date 6, 7, or 8 men?
Usually they're dating slightly above or equal to their looks match. Yeah.
Okay, so you should be dating 7s, 8s, and perhaps even 9s even, correct?
Well, that would be above my looks match, in my opinion.
But I mean, it's not a hard and fast rule. Surely statistical outliers.
Yeah, I mean, it can
maybe
happen.
Look,
It can.
has it
It's rare,
happened?
though. First of all, the amount of 9s that like walk the earth, there's really not that many of them to begin with. It's like, Alex, like, please don't bring up, because the rating scale is heavily skewed. If I use certain things as a 7, like obviously there's are girls who are 9s out here, but I'm talking about like a true 9, you know?
Can you explain to me what a true 9 is?
I gave you an example of a very attractive woman. You
No,
can
I'm
look at-
asking you. It's your scale.
You look
Megan
at the
Fox,
golden...
right?
Well, she's definitely up there, yeah. I'd give her a 9 easily.
Okay,
But-
so you probably wouldn't pull Megan Fox, right?
Well, no shit.
Well, who's an example of an 8 then?
Man. I'd have to look up like a few more right off.
Just
Lana
give me-
Rhodes?
Yeah, Lana Rhodes. She's definitely not a 9.
Yeah, she's not. She's
Okay,
like-
so you don't think you'd pull Lana Rhodes, right? So can you give me an example of a 7?
Man, I don't have these like off top. I would have
Just
to really...
any example works, buddy. Just an example of a 7. Alex's girlfriend, even.
No, dude. Not
Your
even
words,
close.
your words, not mine. So do you think that
No,
Alex?
he claimed that she was a 7.
Let's not.
Which is why I was
Can we
clowning
do
him.
maybe like a 5-minute stretch where we don't bring my girlfriend into
Right,
it?
right.
All right.
About
The
me,
thing is, like-
I feel like you would probably rate me a 7.
Yeah, it's not so
Oh,
erudite.
yeah,
7.
yeah. I'd give her like with makeup on, she's a 7, yeah. That's a
Okay.
good
Do you think not so erudite would sleep with you if she didn't know who you were and you randomly approached her in a bar?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. All right. We'll believe you. Can you give me an example of a 6?
Jesus, dude. You could ask me the whole scale. I don't know.
Yes,
How
because
down are you to sleep with looks?
Dude,
for
I've
all?
already like mentioned, like I have no desire.
well,
She's a
you
heavy
claimed
bias towards me.
you claimed that you were an 8, and yet when you
Mhm.
said that women date across, when we mentioned Lana Rhodes, it's probably not likely. I'd be willing to put a fair amount of money that you will not be sleeping with Lana Rhodes anytime soon.
I'll
And
make
then we
sure to
went-
send you a video.
Or a girl who
Alright,
looks
on a-
comparable to her.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how turned on are you by looks for L? Just give us a little
0.
basic.
Very
Zero.
dry.
And
I
then
do
we
not
have a
think you would pull
very
me.
dry.
Here's
Like
the
a
thing, like,
hard
when you're
record?
debating, it's different than when you're trying to pick up a girl. Like obviously,
That is true, but I
Looks for L,
genuinely
but I
am very
was
dubious.
disappointed that you didn't want to do a speed date with
because a
Kyla.
speed date is not a good metric, and she holds a heavy bias.
jeez.
I've already told you the reasons. Like, this is
What if I bring on a girl that's not Kyla, a girl who doesn't know who you are?
that still
Remember, he
goes
said
against
that
the speed metric.
he's got to
Speed date
cope and
metric.
seethe. He cannot possibly try to show that he's good at hitting on women.
So now we have an example.
I want
of
to see that because
Now-
I don't believe you have good game looks for L. But also, I'm really confused by the fact that like you're saying that like, oh yeah, I want to get the hotter girls, but I don't think I could get like a 8 or whatever. So why don't you go to the gym? Like
Yeah, I mean,
ultra
I've
fucking skinny.
considered doing it. Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of effort, and I don't really feel
But
like
to
doing
me,
it.
like, okay, in my mind, like I go to the gym and I think that looks are not the only things or not the main thing, right? You think looks are the main thing. So I feel like if I thought looks were the main thing, I would really try to maximize every aspect of my looks, including gym, because that's one within my control. It just seems a little like almost hypocritical that you don't do that.
Well, here's the thing: when you're at a certain level and you're having no issues with women, why
But
the fuck would you go to the gym?
But you're saying you can't pick up the 8s.
No.
Yeah, or in a 7 just rejected you.
What? Dude, she has a strong bias and she doesn't even know what I look like.
Can you list any other 7? If Megan Fox is a 9 and Lana Rhodes is an 8, then like a 7 has to be like still pretty top tier. Like if I'm bringing home a 7, if that's the ranking system you're going by, I bet I'd be happy with a fucking 4. I'd be happy with the cute librarian that fucking bakes good. You know what I mean?
Well, some people have high standards. I don't know. If I were to have a girlfriend, I'd want her to be like at least a 7, 8 plus.
So wait. If you listed those women as 7, 8 plus, and those women are higher status than you, and you're rejected by 7s, aren't you the one that's acting hypergamously?
No, women are the ones acting hypergamously. You have to go within your
Really,
lane.
it seems like you're trying to date up above your status.
I mean, no, every guy would like to. They just have to be real with
No, it
themselves.
seems like you're pretty focused on it, right? Because like
No.
you couldn't even list me a 6. I mean, imagine a scale, right?
Well,
We
you
can do
wouldn't
this
know
really
them. I could
simply.
pull up my phone and like find a photo of a girl, but you would
Sure,
have no
send
idea.
one to Alex. I'd be love to see it.
Okay, I can.
I'm still confused by the gym thing. Like again, going back
Dude,
to
it's
this,
like, yeah, I'll explain it. It's like when you're already at a certain...
looks are the main thing that matters. You're acknowledging that you can't really get the 8s. I'm assuming you want the 8s. You
No,
could
I
be
said I can't
better
get the
looking.
9s and the 10s because that's above my looks level. You get me?
So why are you acting hypergamously?
But you can improve your looks level by going to the gym.
Yeah, and that takes effort. If I'm content slaying 7s and 8s, which
Whoa, we've established you're not slaying 8s because you're not sleeping with Lana Rhodes.
Lana Rhodes is a celebrity. Like, what are you talking about?
Wait, you're the one who said she's an 8, bro.
So are you sleeping with 8s or are you not?
Hmm?
Are you sleeping with 8s or are you not?
Yeah.
I mean, there's zero chance that I'm gonna believe you. I'm sorry.
What-
Like the guy's still faking a deep voice, so
Can you send me some proof of this?
Yeah, I can send you.
I'm
Alex.
sure he could Photoshop you some proof. Absolutely.
Man, she's so bad faith. It's crazy.
There's a zero. You literally, I know that you're faking your deep voice. You sound
And
almost
assuming
identical
I'm
to how
faking
I
my
sound
deep
right
voice
now.
just because I have high testosterone levels.
No.
It's insane.
No, bro, it's because
crazy.
because you have no capacity for inflection, just like me. Because when you push your voice as low as possible, you bottom out your vocal cords, and it's really hard to do inflection when you try to bottom out your voice.
What I'm saying is,
I have a lot of testosterone as well, though.
you established a level of an 8, right? I asked you for any example fucking possible. And rather than fucking, and now it's possible. I mean, things are possible. People win the fucking Powerball. Maybe you are out there slaying fucking porn stars, but I am not. Something about me is not buying it, right? Just a little hunch.
Because I have the label of Blackpill, people assume, oh, this guy's just a fucking incel who doesn't know what he's talking about. But I just like the Blackpill as an idea, as a concept that women will treat you differently based on how you look.
You just like it as the same amorphous concept. You just like dig with it. You vibe with it.
Because
but
it's
it's in no way an
you're an
expression
incel.
of copium.
I'm an empath too.
I don't actually think you're an incel. I think you've probably been with a few girls. I don't think you're fucking 8s. I don't think you're successful with girls as you claim. And that's not. And I don't actually think you're faking your voice either. I think you lack vocal expression. For I don't know, some God knows reason. I think maybe because you're nervous or something like that, or because you're limiting yourself. I don't know, but yeah. So I don't really believe that you have good social skills, and I think you could disprove that either by doing a speed date with some girl or showing me some proof of you with girls. But yeah,
I can show you the second one. I think a speed date is a terrible metric to decide whether you can get a girl or not. Women virtue signal. So much bullshit. Like, really what matters is whether you get the lay or not, and whether this
right. But if you like watch, like, for example, me or like Prince Ho, like pretty much every speed date we do, it's like at least somewhat positive reaction. Like I've had maybe one girl who said she wouldn't go on a second date with me, but like the vast majority.
Dude, you run the show. You don't think there's like a crazy bias there? At least for yourself. For Prince O, he's like a decent looking black guy.
I don't think Prince O is any.
Why'd you?
I mean, but okay, like if we take like okay, fine. When I went on Blackpill Bachelorette, there's a reason I came in second place, right? It's like this is the same experience I have where I do at least pretty decently, anytime I'm in that environment. It's not a coincidence.
Here's the thing. I still think the speed date thing, it's not an accurate metric for whether you're going to be able to pipe the girl, you know? Really what it is if you have some lay reports or, you know, testimonials or shit like that, where it's clear that you piped this girl and she desires you and stuff like that. Just going on a speed date and having a woman say yes or no matter her response, doesn't fucking matter. Like,
I don't think it's about her response. I think it's about your performance. I actually don't think the girl's response.
Right. You know how some girls on the speed date, you'll ask them like, hey, would you go on a second date with this guy?
Sure.
And they'll be like, you know, like, I'll give him a shot. It's never like an enthusiastic, like, yes,
Right.
like
Well,
a Chad
yeah,
Struck moment.
But those are things you can take into consideration. Like if the girl's like, oh, sure, then that's like that's probably a no. But if the girl's like, yeah, I definitely would, then that's like a yes.
You've seen that and you've counted it as a yes. Like it's clear she just doesn't want to make him
No,
mad.
I haven't counted as a yes. Well, first of all, I'm not counting anything. I'm not doing it's not a competition. I'm still giving the guys feedback, whether they get a yes or no.
Okay.
But going back to it, I mean, I guess the one thing I would say, a photo of you with a girl is it could be a prostitute, although that's probably not likely.
Oh
so yeah, if you send me photos of you with girls in the bedroom or something, like in a situation that's like clearly romantic,
Right.
that will definitely give some credence to your claim.
Sure. And here's the thing, when I was like younger, I wasn't really that keen on taking pics with girls. But now that I've like been watching this and everyone's about like, oh, show me like the kind of girls you're with. So for like credibility purposes, I've been doing it for like the last few weeks. You know?
So you'll send me the email tonight?
Sure.
All right, I look forward to this.
Yeah, dude, I'm not afraid of like proving it. I think it's just strange how I have to prove myself just because like I'm a black pillar. Like, oh, he must be.
No, it's not because you're a black pillar. It's just because I don't believe you because I don't think you have good social skills. You're I'm not saying that to like offend you or be a dick. You're very monotone and you're not really charismatic or funny.
Well, we're debating, homie. I'm not trying to get in your pants. Just like the last thing.
I assure you, he's probably way less monotone.
Right, but even if you like watch me debate, I'm still pretty funny and charismatic when I debate. So
but your voice is always monotone as well.
My voice is
very
definitely
low monotone.
No, Alex's voice is not monotone at all.
I have a whole range of expression. Yeah.
Literally listen to his sentence and then compare it to your sentence or my voice. My voice is monotone right now because I'm pushing as deep as I can go.
She still thinks I'm like faking my voice.
You are faking your voice. There's literally no way that you'll convince me you're not. You're doing all of the classic things that you have to do to make a fake deep voice.
I really don't know. Maybe you should.
That I disagree with. I don't actually think he's faking his voice. I think that's just his literally he's just kind of nervous and that's like how his voice matters.
I'm not. This is how people speak when they're calm. They're just speaking like normally. I don't know. Also, I think inflection is like a terrible metric again, whether you get girls or not. It's so pointless. We're derailing
nobody's using inflection to determine whether you get girls.
Well, last stream I remember like, oh, can you inflect your voice? Like this will make me believe you more. It's just
that was to make me believe whether or not you were using a fake voice, and then you couldn't inflect your voice when I asked you to, which proved to me that you were using a fake voice. Because at least if you're using not a fake voice, you can actually inflect. If you ask me to inflect using this voice, I can't really do it without cracking.
Okay, Peachcraft. What else did you want to discuss?
Let's wrap up in like a few minutes. So let's do
nothing. Nothing. The voice thing I'm agnostic on because I've known a few dudes that got some tea drop that sound like you, so I can't beat you up too badly on that yet until I find out for certain. Your black pill ideology seems to be the black pill in and of itself likes to make exaggerated truth claims about generalized preferences that humanity has. I'm not going to tell you that beauty isn't real. I'm not going to tell you that looks don't matter, right? Because that's not the case. But the individuals that belong to this community and the individuals that take the black pill, I think largely above in themselves, hate them fucking selves. And they hate themselves for not only whatever variance of life gave them, but they hate the fact that they're so fucking weak that they can't fucking change it, right? At the end of the day, going to the gym and having a level of discipline is not difficult. Improving your life standards to make a level of fucking income is not really difficult. Fucking Poindexter dweebs learn how to fucking code Python. You can make some fucking cash, right? The individuals in this fucking community Like they're either neuroatypical, which sure, they're in the depths of the black pill. There's a level of being beat to fuck and crazy as shit to where you're probably a genetic dead end, right? That is the rare minority. Self-improvement is not the rare minority. You holding on to this opinion demonstrates in and of itself a high degree of poor sociality, because fairly well socialized individuals that have made the claims that you make don't share the black pill. That is why I don't believe you.
I'm just unique. Like, I consider myself like
sure.
Chad White. So
yeah, I'm an Aquarius. What? Sure, we can make fucking claims. What I'm saying is the pattern of fucking behavior and the claims that you make do not align.
How?
Because individuals that are well socialized enough to have an active sex life don't believe the things that you believe.
See, but that's what you think. And I'm pointing out that I'm unique because although I get pussy, I still find this concept very intriguing, and it's everywhere.
Then
that's the thing. Like, you guys can't fathom that like a black pillar gets pussy. I don't know. It's crazy.
Fair enough.
Well, we'll get to the bottom of it when you send me that email.
Sure, I'll send you some.
Alex, thank you for having me on your show. Erudite, I hate you. I'll catch you later.
No worries. All right, cool. All right, cool. Awesome. Thanks, Lux Farrell. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. And I don't want to be like rude towards you. Like, that's not my intent.
No, it's not my intent. Just your girlfriend is a busted.
But that's not a representation of you, you know?
Why would you come on here and make any comments about
think about that for a second. Just think about that statement.
Well, it kind of is, but it's not like you're restricted. You can always like change that. I don't know.
Dude, I'm not planning on leaving my girlfriend because some dude on the internet doesn't find
It's not just me though. That's the thing. I feel like you just discount all the people that have criticism towards you.
Bro, I could care less what. I don't care if it's 20.
Why would some random loser who can't show his face on the internet because he's such a coward over his opinions matter to Alex at all enough that he would leave a stable long-term relationship?
It would be more, dude. You could get like 100 million people to sign a petition that says that Natty is whatever and that I can do so much better. You can get 1 billion people to sign a petition. You could have governments like fucking petition me. That still wouldn't change my opinion on like my relationship. Like I think actually that's like a sign of weakness if you're the kind of man that's influenced by outside pressure.
Not outside. You know yourself. You can get like a hotter girl. That's kind of my point.
But my primary goal in life isn't to just like hypergamy my way up and get the possibly hottest girl. I'm like quite happy with Natty.
Okay, well that's all that matters then.
All right, cool. All right, thank you. Take care.
Take care. Thanks.
I like how we started with the goal of having like a quick podcast, and here we are 3.5 hours in.
Yeah. Oh, he's not here anymore. I can stop doing deep voice. Man, it's like I don't know what everyone's coping on. This guy's for sure faking a deep voice, but
I don't know. I disagree with you on that. So disappointing that Alex is just Brad, you're a long time subscriber to the show. You know what I believe, free speech. So I'm not gonna step in. I personally try to be respectful to everyone. I think I do a pretty good job of that. But I'm not going to step in if someone wants to be a dick and like be like, hey, man, you can't stop being a dick, you know? Like, again, Peacecraft, while I do think he was extremely condescending, he has a right to express himself in any way that he wants. Same as Lux Farrell, same as Colin, same as anyone else. So that's kind of how I operate. I think freedom of speech above everything else. All right. Any closing thoughts, Kyla?
Nope.
Short and sweet. All right, cool. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We might do another round of speed dating tomorrow. I think we'll probably do it. And then what am I doing Wednesday? Oh, I got what's his name? The guy that wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy, Robert Glover, joining me. That should be an interesting discussion. And then we're also having Destiny debate Allende, and then we're having Destiny debate. What the fuck is his name? Turd Flinging Monkey. That should be a fucking shit show.
Okay.
But yeah. Cool. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you next week. Well, actually, we'll see you tomorrow, but we'll see Kyle next week. Peace.
Peace.